Bois Inc. I think this is episode 52. I've got Nate with me. I gotta hit full screen.
Ooh, ew.
What's up?
52? I thought this was 53.
It could be. I might just be an idiot.
Well, we're in the early 50s.
That's true. Oh, I just clicked on the most recent video and it's not an episode. I need to stop swearing so much too. I've been getting comments about that. It is 52.
Really?
Yeah, I got some comment where someone was like, "Yo, just pro tip: if you swear a lot, they'll demote your video." And I was like, "Okay,
yeah.
well, I might just like bleep it or something, because I swear a lot.
Thing,
I don't know that I can stop. So, I might bleep it. I don't know. I might just bleep like every other one because it seems like it would be super annoying to scrub through for everyone, especially on like a 4-person episode. It would just be unintelligible. It's just a constant bleep. Listen to this white noise. Then again, I think when all 4 of us are on, it already qualifies as white noise. We're the least diverse podcast group ever. Nah, I mean, I feel like that's actually not true. Never mind. I'm going to say, demographically, podcasts kind of dominated by white dudes. So, there's a big topic that we need to get into, but first, because I forgot last episode, I gotta bring it up now.
Okay.
And I'm super unprepared because I wrote it down like, hey, I'll just, remember this, but I forgot to actually get the screenshots. But Lord Miles needs to be addressed. Okay, I forgot to address it in the last episode because it's been a while since we've checked in with him officially on the channel. So I'm prepared to make an ultimatum. So as far as everyone knows, he was last seen in, I think, Afghanistan, and he's allegedly being held captive by the Taliban.
Oh, shit.
And this has been, like, for months. That was, like, early this year.
Okay.
I'm trying to see when the last time he tweeted from his own account was. I believe it was maybe February. Yeah, it looks like... it looks like February 27th was the last time he tweeted, but there's been some tweets since then. So I'm prepared to make an ultimatum, okay? So like I said, he's right now allegedly being held captive by the Taliban. And from everything I can gather, the UK government is right now petitioning his release.
Okay.
Now, as far as I'm aware...
Where is he from again?
The UK.
Okay.
He's from...
he's just...
Yeah, he's English.
Okay.
And as far as I'm aware, I'm not familiar with UK law, but I very well could be a citizen of the UK. I'm not sure. I've heard conflicting stories on whether I am or not.
Okay.
Because my mom is from Scotland, and she has dual citizenship for the United Kingdom and also America. And I think me being her kid might just automatically give me citizenship, or like she would have to apply for it or something. I don't remember. I've heard both. Like, oh, she would just need to do some paperwork, or it's already fine. Like, you're already a fucking citizen. So I am prepared to stake my possible British citizenship on this. If they don't get our boy back, I will renounce my British citizenship that I may or may not have.
That's fair.
I will say, man, screw the UK. What a goofy country. It's actually a collection of countries. What a goofy group of countries. I'm fed up with it if they can't get my boy back.
Nobody would blame you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've been there before. So as far as what we know about Miles, it's not much, unfortunately. So his account tweeted, like his official account tweeted back in July, on July 17th, and it posted a picture of him standing next to, I guess, some Taliban dudes. They claim it's like Taliban dudes. And the person running the account says, this is a friend of Lord Miles to give an update. And it reads, 4 months in Taliban custody. He's treated very well, has several servants, loads of movies on his laptop, goes on picnics, and has tea with the Taliban cabinet government. He still loves Afghanistan.
Okay.
So, he might be alright. We're not sure. It's not something that's like set in stone. And then it's a thread, so he goes on. He says, next tweet in a week or two, we will tell everyone further info. Miles does not know about these tweets, but we feel responsible to tell the world he's alright and carrying on the British adventurer spirit.
Okay.
Lord Miles will sell his exclusive story to a journalist upon his return. DM him your offer on Twitter. He doesn't know about these tweets, but he'll see it when he's home to be paid upon his arrival. Highest bid wins, minimum €5 or £5. 5,000 pound. My bad. I can't tell what that goofy E is. Is that, I can't remember if that's euro or pounds. But
no idea.
Minimum 5,000.
Okay.
So on one of the clips that I uploaded of us talking about Lord Miles the first time he was unwillingly stranded in Afghanistan, someone had commented on the video and was like, yeah, man, he's in Taliban custody. It's not looking good for our boy. And I responded, I was like, yeah, but, you know, the tweets do seem promising. And then someone else was like, yeah, but I don't think they're real, though. And I said, well, they're from his official account, and I'm not super certain what the point of lying would be.
Right.
Right? Like, he did tweet about, like, we'll sell his story for, you know, a minimum bid or something. But I don't see someone bidding on it and then giving him the money up front, like whoever runs the account giving him all the money, and then like it turns out that he's dead. Like, I assume he said paid upon his return, so it doesn't seem like a scam.
Yeah.
So then about 6 days later, it retweets a tweet from Count Dankula, who is the Scottish guy that got in trouble for the Nazi pug. And also...
Oh, right.
Yeah, and also he's the guy that ran that absolutely god-tier troll where he pretended that his account belonged to the Supreme Court.
I don't remember that.
Oh, it was so good. So it was like right after Roe v. Wade was repealed.
Okay.
He had a verified account, and he changed his name on Twitter to like Justice Dankula, and then his profile picture to his face photoshopped on a dude in like a judge robe, and then went to a Biden tweet that was like, can you guys believe that the Supreme Court just repealed Roe v. Wade? That's insane. And then he commented on it like, we thought very long and hard about it, Mr. President.
Ooh.
And he's a verified account called Justice Dankula, and that was as far as everyone investigated. And then they started like tweeting at him like to kill himself, basically. Like, how dare you repeal Roe v. Wade? Like, a bunch of people thought he was a Supreme Court justice, which is really funny because it's the people that were being the loudest and most extreme in their political opinions, but could not be fucked to Google who like the 9 Supreme Court justices are. There's not like it's not like the Senate or like the House where it's like, oh yeah, there's like hundreds. Like, even senators, like, yeah, there's like 100 of them, and like representatives is like, I think 200 something. And like, they're changing frequently. Yeah, like, you know, they change frequently. But like, the Supreme Court is not like something where, oh yeah, there's people just revolving door that one. Like, it's, you know, people coming in and out, no way to know really who's on that. It's like, no, because it's a big deal whenever anyone joins or leaves. How do you not know who the... Like, even if you don't know them off the top of your head, wouldn't you, like, investigate a little bit? Especially when so much of the Twitter account is clearly him trolling. Like, him tweeting about the Nazi pug and stuff. And, like, his YouTube channel. Seems weird for a Supreme Court justice to do. Hey, guys, back at it again with another video from the Supreme Court. It's your boy, Justice Dankula. So that guy he tweeted, and Lord Miles' official account retweeted it, and he says, I received further confirmation from the person running this account that this is legit and Miles is still alive.
Okay.
So he might be okay. We're not certain.
I'm certain.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come out and say it. My boy's fine.
Yeah, I mean, has he been in worse? I feel like he's already been in Taliban custody before. I feel like he's kind of building up rapport with them. Like, they might recognize him from last time. I mean, how many, like, shit-posting British explorers do they deal with? I feel like he stands out. I feel like he really distinguishes himself from the average Afghani citizen. And then the most recent thing is from July 24th. And it was from an account called Your Fellow Arab. And it was a retweet that Lord Miles' account did. And he said, in contact with @RealLordMiles, correspondent on the ground, confirmed he's alive with multiple photos of Miles enjoying himself with the Taliban, even with fully loaded weapons behind him. Seems like he's okay for the moment, and he's vibing. I asked for a timestamp photo.
Okay.
So the problem is he didn't post any of the pictures that he said he got, right? He said, confirmed he's alive with multiple photos of Miles. But then the top comment on that tweet is the guy that posted it saying, I've been told not to share the images.
Weird.
So it's strange.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I've been talking with the people in the comments of the YouTube video I put up, and opinion is mixed, to be honest. Like, some people like, yeah, he's probably fine. Other people like, nah, it's over. Basically, we got some we're so back and some it's so over. Let's see, why can't I find my video?
Why was he in custody in the first place again? Or we know, or is it just kind of...
He went back. He went back to Afghanistan after he left the first time. I'm not sure.
But what was he doing there?
Like
when he went back?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't really tell. He was posting about being in Dubai and then made a joke about, like, his next visit was going to be to North Sentinel Island, which is not where he is.
Oh.
But I suppose, like, being in Dubai, I think Dubai was, like, the place he fled to after getting out of Afghanistan. Like, that was, like, the emergency place they dropped him after he evacuated was Dubai, and then Dubai was, like, fine at the time. So he was able to fly back from there. So I guess he went back in via Dubai. I can't tell. He's kind of memeing super hard, so he doesn't really document everything he does super well, unfortunately.
Okay.
But I did want to come out strongly in favor of my boy, so I will stake my, potential citizenship of the UK on his safe return. And that's all we've got on the Miles update for now. I will be monitoring the situation, and by that I mean, I don't know, every couple weeks I might check his Twitter. That's like journalism, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's better than what most people do.
Yeah, thank God I'm not a journalist, am I right? Thank God I don't care about journalistic integrity or ethics or anything. Because that's not what I'm here for.
Not what any journalist is here for.
That's true. That's actually so true. All right, we can get into that big topic now.
Big one?
Hell yeah.
I got a lot to say about that one. Man.
Hell yeah, dude. So do I. I actually wrote down notes while I was watching it.
Me too.
Nice. Nice. I was about to say, dude, I'm a huge fucking nerd for that. Hell yeah. Yeah, I was just keeping a tab of things that I liked and didn't like. So would you like to kick this one off?
So mine's going to be a lot shorter, obviously.
Okay, yeah.
I've not seen a lot of I actually I went back to the cartoon afterwards.
Nice.
This is now my third time attempting to watch One Piece.
Okay.
And I think I went into the live action show with kind of the view of like, obviously at first I was just like, oh, I'm curious, right?
Yeah.
I want to see this train wreck. And texted you because I was like 10 minutes into the first episode and I was like, it's like really good quality.
Yeah.
At the very least.
Yeah, the production is well done.
The production value is very, very good. Like that opening scene, the execution of Gold Roger.
Yeah.
A spoiler because that's the opening scene of One Piece.
Yeah.
That was really well done.
Yeah, the sets themselves were really well done.
The sets were great, and the crowd, and like if you look in the crowd, you can see younger versions of some of the characters. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I loved. They did a bunch of stuff like that I super liked.
And like holy shit, this is pretty cool. I like this. And then I was like, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to watch this because that wasn't my plan at first.
Yeah,
like, I'm going to watch all of this show, and I'm going to kind of use it as like a jumping off point for the anime.
Okay.
Like previously I had seen up until kind of like the Sanji and Zeph arc.
Okay.
Just like 30 episodes in ish.
Yeah.
So I never got far in the anime.
Yeah, it's roughly like roughly 30, yeah.
But I was kind of looking at the episode descriptions and I was like, all right, it looks like this gets up to Arlong Park, which is where everybody says like, oh, the show gets good or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm almost at Arlong Park in the anime. So I was like, I'm going to kind of use this as just like, remind me of what's going on because I haven't seen the anime in so long. And then I'll go back and watch the anime after I watch this.
Yeah.
So I kept watching it and it's hard to compare it to the anime because like I said, there's a lot of shit that I hadn't seen.
Yeah.
But I liked it. I don't think it was like amazing, but I liked it.
Yeah, that's like where I land on it too, to be honest.
Yeah.
So going into it, my frame of reference was like completely different because I'm caught up with the anime.
You saw it, yeah.
Yeah,
You've seen
it. Yeah, I fucking love One Piece. It's my favorite show. So I was like, okay, well, Netflix's track record with live action adaptations of things is quite bad. So I'm gonna adjust my expectations. I'm not gonna go into it thinking like this will be the exact same thing that I really love. It's not gonna be that. It's gonna be something else. So let me like try to judge this fairly. So like the metric that I sort of landed on was like, would this be a good way to get someone into One Piece that's never heard of it?
Yeah, I think I was kind of going off of a similar metric.
Yeah, I was like, okay, if I'm in the headspace of someone that is not familiar with anime or One Piece, and this is my first exposure to it, am I going to be like, ew, this is gross, I don't want to watch it? Or would I be intrigued enough to maybe go watch or read it? Because if it's converting people to watch or read it, then that's a dub as far as I'm concerned. Like, that's a win.
Right. And that's what I was doing. I was seeing if it'll convince me to get back into it.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think, I was going to say, I think overall, I think it probably does that.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm currently watching the anime again.
Nice. Yeah, I think the live action is okay, which puts it like head and shoulders above every other live action adaptation. Like, this absolute fucking mad lad, Oda, did it again, bro. He does not miss. He made the only good live action anime. He's done it. No one else has done it. Like, that was the X factor as far as I could tell, because this was showing tons of signs of being bad before he was involved.
The trailers did not do it justice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw every single trailer and it was like shit.
Yeah, I didn't like the trailer because it put in that one line that I think Joey summed it up perfectly, is like Luffy just drops one line of like white woman writing.
Yeah, it was like that Marvel writing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, that's how I described it. And he went, "Oh, you mean white woman writing?" And I was like, "Yeah, yes, that."
Yeah.
where it's like, aha, that just happened. And I was like, if he is like a sarcastic,
that like quippy,
a sarcastic smartass, I'm gonna hate this. And he like that was the one time in the whole like show that he talked like that.
Yeah.
But yes, yeah. So I thought overall it was pretty good. I like out of maybe 10, I would give it like a 5 or a 6. Where I'm like, it's not amazing, but as far as like, is it watchable? Absolutely.
Yeah, benefit of the doubt, I would give it a 6.
Yeah, I would say at its best it's a 6, and maybe at lowest it's a 4, but not for very long. Like it's usually around a 5.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So I go ahead.
Yeah. No, you go.
Okay.
Take this.
Yeah, I was gonna say I wrote down a bunch of stuff that I thought was like sort of pros and cons.
Yeah.
Because I thought a lot of that stuff was interesting to see, like what changes they made, and if I could sort of deduce why. Because obviously there's only 8 episodes, and they're all roughly an hour on average, and they're trying to get from absolutely 0 to Arlong Park done, like leaving Arlong Park, which is like 40-ish episodes of the anime. So I was like, okay, obviously, a lot of stuff is going to have to get cut because Oda loves to meander. Like, it usually pays off, but he takes his time, so it can often feel like there's not a lot happening. So, like, the example that everyone uses for this is super early on, so it's, like, pretty much spoiler-free. This is, like, the first 15 episodes or something. It's the whole shenanigans with Buggy. The structure of that arc takes so much longer than it needs to, but it's because it has like a specific thing in mind. Like the example that I saw people talking about, and I've tried to limit like other people's opinions that I've been seeing on this. I only saw one brief like person talking about the pacing change, and basically they were saying like, oh yeah, well that arc takes a super long time because like Luffy gets locked in a cage when he's fighting Buggy, and then instead of like one of the Straw Hats just getting him the key and getting him out, Zoro picks up the cage and carries it to the other side of town, where they then find the dog, and I think the dog ate the key. It's been so long since I've seen it, and it's so.
I just watched that one because I just finished the Buggy arc like a few days ago.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I think the dog like eats the key or whatever, and then they fight that guy with the lion.
The beast tamer, yeah.
Yeah, and the guy on the unicycle. But the whole point of that happening is because if he just broke out of the cage, then you wouldn't get any of the storytelling with the dog and the mare. Because like that's what he was trying to get to, is the thing with the dog. So it's like a super roundabout way of getting here. But that's kind of the point of the show, is like, it's more about the journey than the destination.
Yeah, they're 1,000 episodes in and they still haven't found the fucking treasure.
Yeah, and they're still, exactly.
It's definitely about the journey.
Yeah, it's all about like, oh wow, look at all of the rich personal lives and, lore and backstory that all of these very minor characters have.
Yeah.
So generally I thought like the best the show was actually during the Buggy episodes, because I think they nailed Buggy. I think they really cleaned up a lot of Buggy from the original.
Right. I think that was like I wouldn't say that was my favorite part, but like I thought that was good.
Yeah, like
in live action.
Yeah, it's been so long since I've watched the beginning of One Piece, like the show. So like after I watched the live action,
I was one problem with Buggy, and I'll get to that after this.
Yeah, I rewatched episode of East Blue afterwards just to brush up, just to see what a condensed version of East Blue done in the anime style is like. Basically, episode of East Blue was a couple years ago. They basically reanimated all of the beginning arcs. Essentially the exact same timeline that the live action show was doing. So like nothing to Arlong Park. And they condensed it down into like the length of a movie. I think it's like an hour and 20 minutes.
Oh, okay.
And, obviously like they have to rush through a lot of it, but I just wanted to see like, okay, how did, the anime do it versus how did the live action do it?
Right.
So that didn't really help me get a grasp on Buggy, because they pretty much cut him entirely from episode of East Blue. Because it's really just about the Straw Hats' backstories, and you don't get any backstory from Buggy at all.
Right.
But from what I can remember, I feel like the live action handled Buggy super well. I really liked his character. I thought he was really like charismatic. Like I just liked scenes that he was in. I feel like he brought up scenes that he was in rather than like making them worse.
Yeah.
And the way they restructure that arc, I think helps move shit along because it's very easy to get bogged down.
Yeah.
So I am a huge fan of what they did there. There were some changes later in the season that I was like not too keen on, but the Buggy stuff, like A+, as far as I'm concerned. Like I think those were great changes because, you know, certain amounts of the East Blue did have to get like cut out because there's so much story there that you're just trying to condense into 8 episodes. Like you have 8 hours of screen time, you know, really get to the point, and Buggy doesn't have a whole lot of point.
Right. I liked so with Buggy, right, in the live action, I think you kind of nailed it when you said that he was charismatic.
Yeah.
Like in the anime, he's just kind of insane, which is entertaining up until a certain point, but then like, it gets old.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
In the live action, he's just like he's more of like a con man type.
Yeah.
And I like that a lot better. I like that character trope a lot better. The one thing that bothered me with Buggy, and the other thing with Buggy that I would really like to note, because I definitely had this in my notes, is my biggest fear going into this series was CGI.
Yes.
I think they used it sparingly. I think the set pieces are amazing. I think they had like the one big CGI monster, the backstory for Luffy.
Yes.
I thought it was okay.
Yeah. I thought the Sea King looked fine.
The only CGI I did not like was sometimes when they show Luffy's powers, it was fine. Sometimes when they show Luffy's powers, it was not fine. It was like really bad.
Yeah, it was hit or miss generally with him.
Yeah. And they did Buggy stuff.
Yeah.
Every single time I was like, this is great.
Yeah, I think they
nailed the special effects for Buggy's powers were great.
Yeah, they really nailed Buggy, I think.
The one thing I would say about Buggy is, like you said, yes, he was charismatic, and I did like that to a point, but just there's one thing I couldn't get past, and maybe other people wouldn't agree, but the whole time I just kept seeing Ledger's Joker.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it was different enough to get by. I couldn't help but see it every time.
Yeah, I didn't run into that, but that's because like I already have like the sort of preconceived conception of like Buggy in my head as a character.
Yeah,
because like he's a recurring character, right. Like even after they leave the East Blue, they will still cut back to like what's Buggy doing.
Okay.
And I think he's sort of the perfect character for that. Basically, they sort of play him as like. Not to spoil too much, but sort of if you've seen something like Dragon Ball, like I think he's Mr. Satan. I think that's his name in Dragon Ball. Basically, it's this character where like he's not actually good at fighting, but just through like sheer luck and being in the right place at the right time and his sort of con man energy, he just keeps getting promoted over and over and over again, completely undeservedly.
Yeah.
Like, the world is, like, afraid of Buggy for no reason. Just because he just happens to be in, like, the right place at the right time to harvest clout from people.
Right. Oh, that's yeah.
Like, they sort of play him like that. So, it's gonna, like, I think they did play into that a lot. Like, I think they used a lot of his later sort of characterization for him now, which I'm super okay with. So I think like that was probably honestly my favorite part, was seeing Buggy done like so well. So much of this I think was Oda just going back and seeing like if he had done it differently, how would it have worked? Because they apparently worked with him super closely on it.
Right. I was reading something about that, and just like the one note that he kept pushing over and over again with the writers that I think is really good is they're Netflix writers. The one thing they kept doing is like trying to ship all these characters.
Oh yeah, of course.
And I read this article that was like Oda kept saying over and over again, like, no, there cannot be romance within the crew.
Yeah, it's not about romance.
Yeah.
Right? It's not really what the story's about. Yeah, it's just not that kind of thing. In the same way that, like, I mean, you saw this with the guy that wrote Death Note. Right? He had a very similar thing where he was like, listen, if we really like get into the nitty-gritty like character drama, it will completely slow down the pacing and the show would suck. Like, keep it very abstract. It's two geniuses fucking with each other. And that's when it's hitting its stride. Not when it's, playing these like more intimate character moments. So just, avoid them at all costs. And I think Oda definitely did that because, that's something that he's been very vocal about just generally even before the live action. Like, everyone's like, well, why is it that there's no like romance? And he's like, well, because it's just not what this is about. It's about going on an amazing adventure. Like, if the story had to keep getting railroaded by like side quests for romancing certain characters, like, then it would just slow down even further. And the only reason he likes to digress is like to flesh out the world, and adding romance doesn't really flesh out the world very well because it's just dealing with pre-established characters. But yeah, it seemed like they worked super closely with him, and I think he was sort of vicariously like, okay, well, what happens if I change this arc in this way? So I think that's why a lot of the changes seem to not deviate horribly. Okay. Like, everything still flowed okay. I did notice, you reminded me, saying that, like, oh yeah, Luffy's CGI was hit or miss. I did notice they did rewrite a lot of things to not have to deal with that.
A lot of fight scenes, you mean?
Yeah, a lot of fight scenes were either straight
I noticed that too in the earlier episodes, because I remember watching... I remember up to Usopp very well from the anime from like when I watched it years ago.
Yeah.
And when I was watching the live action, that is something I picked up on too. Is like Luffy's not doing a whole lot of fighting.
Yeah, he's kind of a bit player, to be honest, in this version of it. Where they're like, yeah, well, it's way easier to have, Zoro and Nami do everything. Because they just like swing weapons at people and we can sell that super easily, no special effects, just, choreograph it. Especially with the Don Krieg fight being completely removed, that was where I really picked up on it. I was like, oh, I'm not...
Yeah, what was that guy? Because I don't remember that guy from the anime.
So I'm not super against ignoring Don Krieg because he's so superfluous to the whole plot. In fact, like, he's kind of a meme for how inconsequential he is.
Like, he just came in for like a second, then he was gone. Like, I don't...
Yeah, so in the anime, he was like the main villain for that arc, which he's... Honestly, like, I completely understand why they got rid of him. So in the main anime, he's the main villain, and Zoro and his duel with Mihawk is a side thing happening. But that is the far more important thing to happen in that arc. Like, Don Krieg gets beat and is never heard from again, I think ever.
Right.
Whereas Mihawk is a recurring character. He's one of the warlords. Zoro, it's still his goal to beat him in a fight, even 1,000 episodes later. Like, that is way more important. So I think reshuffling Baratier to focus more on Mihawk is a completely understandable change. Like, Don Krieg didn't really have a whole lot. And plus, Don Krieg was already, like, the reason he was at Baratier is because he was running away from Mihawk, who was fighting him because he was bored. Like, that's the canonical reason that they both end up there, is Don Krieg took a massive armada, an actual entire fleet to the Grand Line, and Mihawk just kills all of them, like, immediately. Because he's bored.
Okay.
And then they run away, and he loses pretty much everyone but, his main ship and his couple of underlings. And Mihawk follows him because he's got nothing better to do. Because, he's a warlord and, no job right now. So, just mess around with pirates, I guess. Who cares? And then Zoro's like, oh, it's Mihawk. You know, I gotta duel him because he's, you know, my target. So I thought getting rid of Don Krieg, well, they didn't technically get rid of him because he was there, but Mihawk just killed him in, like, one shot. Which is fine because, like, I mean, that's, like, something Mihawk is clearly capable of doing. Like, there's no doubt, like, who wins that fight. Like, you don't need to have them actually fight. But that was what really got me thinking about it. I was like, oh, well, I remember the choreography of Luffy's fight with Don Krieg being really cool. Like, Don Krieg as a character is super lame, but the fight was really cool, and they completely cut it and gave him nothing instead. And then I was thinking about it, and I was like, well, what have we really seen him do? Like, he punched Alvida, and he punched Buggy a couple times.
Yeah.
He punched Kuro. And then he headbutted him. He headbutted Kuro. That's what that was cool.
Yeah, okay, he did. Yeah.
And then nothing in Barate. He fights no one. And then
I remember, the Kuro fight was completely different.
Yeah, I was actually.
No, it was like in the anime, it was like this outdoor uphill battle thing. Like, I remember that really clearly.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, they rewrote a lot of Usopp's story. Not his story necessarily, but the way that arc plays out, they changed. And I didn't dislike that one either. I sort of understood why they did it. It did unfortunately mean they had to remove one of my favorite jokes from that arc, which is something that I wrote down in my notes. Was like, yeah, they were really hurrying up, so a lot of the, like, funnier moments are just completely gone, which is unfortunate.
I just know that they never, like, brought up the pussyfoot maneuver.
Yeah, he never went pussyfoot
used
mode.
It, but they never, like...
Yeah, they never described him as pussyfoot mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, all right, well, you know, that's fine, I guess. I hated that my favorite joke was removed, though. That actually was not my favorite joke from that arc, though.
What was the joke?
In the original, they're trying to figure out, like, basically Usopp finds out that pirates are going to invade and try to kill everyone in the village. And I believe, from memory, that was actually, like, Kuro was sort of accounting for that. So I think Usopp actually technically had the wrong information. And he was like, oh yeah, they'll be at, like, the beach on the north side of the island or something. So I'm going to go there and, you know, protect it or whatever. And then Luffy, I can't remember if it was Luffy actually went to the correct beach accidentally, or he went to the wrong one and then had to just, like, spend extra time going to the correct one. But basically Luffy hears, oh, North Beach, got it, and then he just starts running towards the beach. And he ends up on the south side of the island. And they're like, how did you do this? He said north. And he was like, oh, well, I ran south because I thought it was north because it was colder. Like, I just ran.
Remember that line.
Yeah, I just ran in the coldest direction because I assumed it was north, and it didn't work out. Like, I love that. That's perfect. Like, unfortunately, we didn't get that. We didn't get Django. Django was.
The hypnotist. Yeah.
Yeah, they dropped an Easter egg of him, but they didn't actually incorporate him. Yeah. So one of the things that I loved was these call forwards that they did. They did a lot of references for people that, like, know stuff further on in the show.
Okay.
So I believe it was in episode 1, they show a wall of bounty posters, and I think you're supposed to see that it's either Alvida or Buggy up on the wall. But all of the visible wanted posters are for characters that will appear later or are supposed to appear later.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
So I, like, actually paused and rewound and just looked at all of them. And I think it was Django actually had a wanted poster up, but didn't do anything in the show. But they at least were like, yeah, look, Django's around doing his thing. He's just not in this. And then there was Foxy, which that's a crazy reference. I don't know why they referenced Foxy of all people.
I have no idea who he is.
Yeah, he's post. I think he's. Is he post Enies Lobby? No, he's post Skypiea. Yeah, he's post Jaya. And that's, like, the worst arc of the whole show, and he's the villain of that arc. And he's a complete joke, and no one likes him. It's, like, hands down the worst One Piece arc. it's the villain of that arc who's a clown. Like, even more of a clown than Buggy is. Like, Buggy was, like, likable. So they dropped a reference to Buggy, or to Foxy, which is crazy. And then they also had Bellamy, which I appreciate a good Bellamy reference, I guess. And then there were some other ones that I picked up on that I thought was really cool. So there was one touch that was so easy to miss, but like, I love this. In one of the episodes where they're showing a flashback to Luffy as a kid hanging around Shanks' crew, they're all partying at the bar, and in the background, the song that's playing is Binks's Brew, which is like such a cool reference.
Yeah.
So, okay, very light spoilers. Around, I don't know, let's call it like the late 300s. Let's call it episode 370.
Okay.
They talk to a guy who's a pirate musician. And he is like kind of friendly with them. And he says like, "Oh yeah, no, we're all partying or whatever. I'll play this song for you. It's called Binks's Brew." And in the manga, obviously, he wrote lyrics and no music. But then the anime was like, let's just make that a full song.
Oh, cool.
And the nice part about the song is it kind of is sort of representative of that character that plays it, because the mood is changed very drastically based on just how you sing it. So sometimes it's like an upbeat pirate sea shanty, and other times it's like super sad, and the lyrics are the same either way. It's just how you play it and sing it. And like, he says that. Like, he explicitly says like, "Oh yeah, this is like a pirate sea shanty." So it was cool to see like, oh, all of Shanks' pirates are partying or whatever, and that song is on in the background. I love that. That is such a cool touch.
That is really cool.
I literally did the like soy face Wojak when they did that. That was like so cool. I was like, oh no way.
Pog face.
Yeah, I did. I went full like, oh fuck. Like, so I thought that was really cool. When they showed the crowd of people for Gold Roger's execution, there were a bunch of recognizable characters in there. They dropped little like very small bits of dialogue that very well could have been dubbed over in ADR or whatever, that I still really appreciated, to sort of allude to character relationships that weren't brought up explicitly. So, for instance, like Mihawk comments on Luffy's hat that it looks familiar. They never said it in the live action show, but Mihawk and Shanks are friends.
Well, they showed him at the end, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They showed him with the
wanted at the end.
Yeah, they showed him with the wanted poster. Yeah, that's true. Like, oh look, your boy.
He's the one who showed Shanks the wanted poster, I think.
Yeah, and that actually is straight from the anime and the manga. Is
cool. Shanks
sees Luffy's wanted poster because Mihawk shows it to him. But it was cool because like I think it had already been established that they were friends. I think they said that when Zoro was dueling him. It was sometime around that where basically they had established that. And, possibly a reason for this is they didn't want to tip off that Shanks is way more important than he seems. But Shanks and Mihawk are friends, and Mihawk is the world's greatest swordsman. He has that title, and everyone like acknowledges that he's the best. He took the title from Shanks. Like, him and Shanks would duel regularly to a draw, and they were the undisputed world's number 1 and number 2. And it was never clear which one of them was better. And then Shanks loses his arm. And then Mihawk,
the sea serpent, right?
Yeah, and then Mihawk kind of gets it by default. Shanks like swears up and down that he's still like just as good at fighting, but Mihawk's like, no, you're not though. So that's why Mihawk has the title of world's greatest swordsman. Is it was him and Shanks were the number 1 and 2.
That's cool.
But I think it would be tipping their hand a little too quickly to immediately tell you that Shanks is like that.
Right.
So there was stuff like that, or I think Buggy had a line or something like that too, which is super cool because I really like that they both reference that they know Shanks. Like that his hat is like super recognizable. I thought that was something super interesting to hone in on.
Yeah.
because Buggy also knows Shanks. My dog is barking like crazy. I hope I can beat that.
Yeah, I can't even hear it.
Yeah, it's probably fun. Yeah, but in the show, Buggy and Shanks know each other. Like, they actually are like super best friends for a while, except they, Buggy hates Shanks now, and they actually do kind of drop a line like that, where he sees the straw hat and he's like, "Oh yeah, Shanks, yeah. I mean, he's kind of a backstabber, don't you think?"
Yeah.
And they don't really
about that a lot.
Yeah, they don't really elaborate on
like
it.
Shanks fucked me over or something, yeah.
Yeah, he was like, "Yeah, I mean, Shanks really betrayed me like that, but I'm sure he betrayed you too. I don't know how you got his hat though." So I thought stuff like that was really cool. Although, unfortunately, there were some where I was like, I don't know that I like that character being removed. Okay. So with Don Krieg being immediately written out, I was completely fine with it. I was like, all right, that's not a super big deal. And the Lion Tamer didn't really do anything, and that's fine. I didn't really, it didn't really live and die by him.
Just a member of Buggy's crew.
Yeah, he's a total fucking jobber on Buggy's crew. Like, Buggy's still relevant, and we still see people that are in his crew, and the Lion Tamer has done nothing since that arc.
Right.
Like, I think even, like, not really a spoiler, because it's not relevant, like, ever, but I think Alvida actually joins Buggy's crew.
Okay.
Which is sort of random, but, like, they end up teaming up.
They showed them together at the end of the season.
Yeah, they kind of dick around in the East Blue for a while, but I think even now, like 1,000 episodes in, she's like a member of his crew or something.
Okay.
Which is like just a strange thing to...
Kind of hinted at it.
Yeah, like they, there might be...
the two of them in like the bar looking at Luffy's wanted poster at the end of this live-action season.
Yeah, it might be like... That might be relevant later. I don't know what Oda plans to do with that. Maybe he's like putting that specifically in the show to hint at it. I can't tell. The one that I really hated though was what happened to Hachi? Why is there no Hachi?
Who's Hachi?
Hachi is one of Arlong's crew members.
Okay. And
he's an octopus, and he uses six sword style.
Oh, okay.
At least I think it's six. So I can't remember if he has. I can't remember if his legs count as his 8 arms or not. It's either 8 sword style or 6 sword style, whichever one. And he fights Zoro during that arc in the anime.
That's cool.
And then, they kind of have a back and forth. Like, he's like, "Oh, well, you're fucked because I have 6 sword style." And Zoro's like, "Yeah, it's not. The more swords you have doesn't mean you're better. Like, if I'm way better than you with 3 sword style than you are at 6 sword style, it doesn't matter that you have 6 swords. I'll still body you." And then, interestingly enough, like, out of all of the characters that occur in Arlong Park, Arlong is not the most important. It's actually Hachi. Because Hachi is relevant later.
Oh.
Hachi is hanging around in, like, the very early 500 episode mark. And, like, is actually a huge fucking plot point. Like, it's not like a small thing that he's there. Like, him being on this island at this certain time, around the 500 episode mark, like, arguably alters the course of history.
Okay.
And he's not in the live action show.
You think they'll put him in later?
I don't know. They might, but I think it kind of stomps all over that moment if he's not in it. Basically, he's kind of like a doofus. Like, he's kind of just an idiot that's on Arlong's crew, and he's, like, well-intentioned but kind of manipulated by Arlong.
Okay.
And if you've seen, either the anime or the live action, like, oh, Arlong and his pirates were pretty bad to Nami. They treated her pretty poorly. And then Hachi, like, feels really bad about it. And then that ends up being, like, relevant later because he ends up trying to be, like, helpful to the Straw Hats later.
Okay.
But he was just not in it. And they also cut out Zoro's friends, which was sort of a random one, but I guess, like, they didn't really do anything that Usopp couldn't have done.
Yeah, they cut out I don't know if they cut out. I'm trying to remember. Like, Usopp's backstory was weird in the anime. I know he was like hanging around the kids and shit, right?
Yeah, they cut out Usopp's quote unquote pirate crew.
Right, they're just like the little kids.
Yeah, it was just the kids in the village. They cut them out, which was fine. There was like a little bit of there was a little bit of character development with Usopp and those kids. Like it's kind of some characterization specifically for Usopp that those kids are there. I watched it during episode of East Blue. They pointed it out, and I sort of appreciate it. Is basically that fight that's happening on the beach with Kuro and the Straw Hats. Kaya goes there, like she leaves her house to go to the beach, and then Kuro's like, "Oh, you idiot! Why would you come here? I'm trying to kill you. So I'll just kill you because I have the pussyfoot maneuver or whatever. Like I'll just run at you and kill you." And then Usopp's like, "Well, I'm not gonna let you do that." And Kuro's like, "Well, I'll kill you also. But at first, I'm gonna deal with Kaya because she's like the main reason I'm here." And then Usopp is like, "Hey, Usopp pirates, you need to get her to safety." And they're like, "Yeah, we're like super cool pirates though. We don't run." And then Usopp lies to them and is like, no, like it's actually super manly for you guys to retreat here. And they're like, "Yeah, okay, that makes sense." And then they end up leaving, with Kaya, like, "Yo, get her to safety though." And I thought that was sort of a good moment for him, because that sort of is what his character is about, is like, he's good-natured, but still a liar, and that's how he sort of contributes, is with his lies.
Okay.
And I liked that, but is it worth putting those kids in there? Probably not. So I thought that was like an okay change. Yosuke and Johnny were not super important. I thought the first scene with Zoro was actually an interesting call forward. Because in the anime they don't show it, but they imply that scene happens. So like
the bar fight, right?
No, before that, when he's at that shrine and then that guy attacks him and he cuts him in actual half.
Oh,
I love that scene. Because that is as far as I can tell, a live action exclusive scene. The anime alludes to it. Basically, later down the line, they run into an organization called Baroque Works, and no one knows what they're talking about except Zoro. And Zoro's like, "Yeah, they tried to hire me once when I was a bounty hunter." But that happens like completely off script. Like he says that, but they never show it happening. They're like, "Oh yeah, no, Zoro knows these guys though. And they're bad guys, but Zoro knows them." And you're like, "Oh, okay, I guess, that's not impossible for Zoro to know that if, it's a famous like criminal group of bounty hunters or something, then, it's not unreasonable to assume Zoro would know." But in the live action, they're like, "Well, let's have Zoro's introduction be them trying to hire him," because that never gets shown. And I was like, that's super interesting that they chose to do it that way. I really like that change. Especially because, I was like, damn, they're really foreshadowing this. Like, Baroque Works doesn't show up until, like, they enter the Grand Line. Like, I guess it's a little questionable why a Baroque Works guy would leave the Grand Line to go to the fucking East Blue of all places.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, it's kind of strange, but I overall, I do like that scene. And then the only other, like, super huge thing I wanted to hone in on is they gave Garp and Kobe and Helmeppo infinitely more screen time than they got in the anime.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. Is
so much more.
The Marines are just in the show as a whole way more.
Yeah. Yes.
They made it more of like a cat and mouse with the Marines, and like I don't remember that at all in the anime.
Yeah, so Garp, they show him a little bit in the anime, but it's not until episode 69 that you really understand that he's special training Kobe and Helmeppo.
Okay.
And it's a complete cutaway. Like, it has nothing to do with what the Straw Hats are doing at that time. It's like, oh yeah, just in case you were wondering about Kobe and the fucking blonde guy, They're both working with Garp right now, and he's training them to be total Chads. Cut back later when they're Chads. And that's basically the screen time that they get, and then, you know, they come back into the story, and now they're, like, super sick or whatever. And then Garp...
One note that Oda made about Helmeppo in the live action.
Yeah.
Remember the scene where he's just in his room alone?
Yes.
With the sword, and they show his ass?
Yes. Full bare-ass dude Helmeppo. Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah, that was requested by Oda.
Nice. Based.
Show his ass.
Based. Yes. That's sick. I don't know why he wanted that particularly, but I'm not going to doubt his creative genius. Oda's a real one, man. Listen, just give him what he wants, all right? If he wants you to show your ass on Netflix, do it. Yeah, I mean, Helmeppo is supposed to be kind of a joke. At least at first. I mean, even now, he's completely, like, overshadowed by Kobe. Like, him and Kobe hang out, but if anything relevant is happening, it's because Kobe's doing it, not because Helmeppo's doing it. Like, Helmeppo's just there while Kobe's doing stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, Garp, they played the Garp and Luffy are related way sooner than the anime did. Like, that is canon, but they wait until, like, I think after Eni's Lobby to show it, which is, like, you know, 300 episodes deep or something. So I thought that was interesting. I did really like that Garp was the one on the execution stand with Roger.
Yeah.
That's a super good touch.
I don't know who Garp is in the anime. It's like, I never got that far.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've only seen like 30 fucking episodes. But, yeah, I didn't know who that was when I started watching the show.
Yeah, so it's Luffy's grandpa in the live action and in the anime. And he's a vice admiral in the Navy.
Mm.
And the interesting thing is, and I do like that they called this out too, is that, like, he should be significantly higher ranked than vice admiral. Like, he should be fleet admiral at this point. But he's like...
he's caught all those pirates?
Well, because he caught the pirate.
Oh, Gold Roger, yeah.
Garp is the one that quote-unquote, caught Gold Roger. Like, he was basically the counterpart to Gold Roger as far as the Marines were concerned. Like, he was in this cat and mouse chase with Roger, and then he eventually got him, and then he's the reason Roger was executed.
Right.
So, off the back of that, they're like, well, you know, you're this hero of the Marines. You could have any job you wanted. You could be, like, the admiral. And he's like, yeah, but I don't want that, because then that comes with all this added responsibility, and then, you know, it's a job that I just don't want. Because then they would be way more, you know, there'd be way more scrutiny on me personally. And, you know, that's not something I want. Which is exactly how his character is played in the anime, too. And I thought that was a really nice touch that they just showed that immediately. Because they tell you that, like, I think way later in the anime, like, oh, that he was, you know, the one that captured Roger.
Okay.
So then, yeah, it sort of leaves him in this awkward spot where, like, he's very often not really helping the Marines in that big a way, but he's very famous as, like, the guy that caught Roger, so he's kind of a folk hero. Like, the average citizen of the One Piece world, like, loves Garp because he's this, you know, famous hero. So they can't, like, fire him. But he doesn't want to be promoted, so he's just sort of hovering in this weird, like, do whatever you want because you're a vice admiral spot.
Okay.
So that's why he doesn't accept the promotion, is like, oh, but if he was, like, an admiral, then he would have to keep up appearances, but if he's just some vice admiral, like, I think he's the only vice admiral that's noteworthy in, like, the whole show. Like, everyone else of that rank is, like, jobber status, you know what I mean? Like, they're just like, oh yeah, you know, they get one tapped or whatever by, you know, any Straw Hat.
Right.
I did also like the touch that Garp threw the cannonball at Luffy's ship. That's actually a thing that he does.
That's cool.
In the anime, he actually doesn't even shoot at him with cannons. He just orders, like, they bring all the cannonballs on the ship and just place them next to him, and he's just gonna throw all of them. Like, they never even fire cannons, and I was really hoping they didn't change it, and they sort of went for this, like, middle ground thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I like that. So to just hit the bullet points that I noticed from my notes, I would say the Easter eggs were good. The plot changes were mostly innocuous. Like, I didn't really have any big problems with that. A+ to the way they treated Buggy. I love that. Arlong got introduced earlier, and I think that's a good change. Because if you just watch the anime, Arlong kind of comes out of nowhere as a bad guy. Like, all of the buildup you get to Arlong is just the arc with Nami, and that's it. So having him...
I liked Arlong a lot.
Yeah.
In the live action.
Yeah, I think Arlong was good. Garp got introed way earlier, said that. Kobe and Helmeppo were significantly bigger characters. Oh, yeah, and they actually... they changed... I don't know if you could call it changed. They, like, fixed Luffy and Sanji's backstories. So, in the anime actually changed Luffy and Sanji's backstories from the manga. Because they were too, like, gruesome a little bit. So, Luffy's, they never showed him getting that scar on his eye in the original anime.
Right, yeah, I remember that.
They never showed that, but then in episode of East Blue, they went back and did it, and in the manga, that's how he got it, was he was trying to prove how tough he was, and he stabbed himself in the face. Yeah. They never showed that in the original anime run.
Okay.
And then the live action was like, yeah, we're putting that in there. So I like that. And then Sanji had a similar thing where in the anime they changed Zeph's story so that he lost his leg saving Sanji from the ship instead of eating it to not die.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, he ate it in the anime.
I don't think he did. He lost his leg.
Yeah, that's like the only thing I remember about that arc.
No, he lost his leg in the anime, but I think he lost it saving him from the ship.
Could have sworn he ate it.
I think in the anime, in the original...
I remember that before I saw the live action.
Yeah, I think in the original anime, he was like... I think he was swimming... I think they showed a scene where he was swimming down to go save Sanji, and his leg gets caught, like, in a net or something, and then he cuts it off to, like, get out of there.
Maybe that's what it was.
Let me see.
Because I remember him eating his leg, like that plot point, before watching the live action show.
Yeah, here you go. I just Googled it. Anime differences. The background on how Zeph lost his leg differs between anime and manga. In the manga, he severed it with a rock and ate it to survive. In the anime, he lost it during the shipwreck in an attempt to save Sanji.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so in the manga, that's exactly how it plays.
What the hell am I thinking of? Because I never read the manga.
It may have been an episode.
Maybe I just heard somebody else talking about it.
Yeah, it may have been an episode of East Blue, or maybe I just told you like that they changed it.
Yeah.
But canonically, he does eat his leg to survive. And in the anime, they don't show it. In the anime, they're like, yeah, he lost it in the shipwreck itself, not saving Sanji, which I think really takes the wind out of Zeph's sails in the anime, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I think I really like that they stayed manga accurate on those ones. I think that's a great like thing to stick to. And then that's like those are the things that I had as like very significant like good pros. And then the cons were like I thought the crew was a little less charismatic overall, but
no, I agree.
I think a lot of that
one major note on that.
Yeah, I think a lot of that comes down to they got significantly less screen time to just be characters and just, you know, be goofy and shit. So like they never really play on Zoro getting lost. They just make him an alcoholic, which is like he's usually both in the anime, but like in the live action they like decisively were like, no, he's just an alcoholic, which is fine because that's still in character, but he was a lot less goofy and likable, I would say, although I think he's still one of the more likable ones. They didn't have Hachi, which was not super good.
He was, I feel like Zoro, and I said this to you.
Yeah.
I feel like he was kind of watered down.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that.
He didn't feel as intimidating.
For sure. Yeah, he was just kind of like sword man that drinks a lot.
Yeah.
That was the thing that I noticed too, was a lot of the character moments where a character is supposed to give like a very cool speech were sort of, they didn't play it as hard as I would have liked. And I noticed it a lot during Zoro's speech when he lost to Mihawk right before he passes out. In the anime, like, that was really the thing that like gripped me. Like, that was the part where I was like, okay, I think I'm into this. Like, I think I really like this show.
What part was it?
It's after he duels Mihawk and he's laying down, like, bleeding to death, and Usopp is trying to save him.
Yeah.
And he's yelling to Luffy, and he's like, Luffy, I'm sorry I let you down. I know if you're going to be the king of the pirates, that I have to be the best swordsman in the world. And I just got clapped.
Right.
And I promise you, I will never lose again. And then at the end, he refers to him as the king of the pirates. And I think in the anime, that moment is like amazing. That's like one of my favorite moments. And Zoro has a lot of great moments in the anime, and I think that's like probably his best one. It's either that or the thing in Thriller Bark, if you know, you know. But I feel like it didn't really come off as interesting in the live action, but they still sort of played it that way. Like, they didn't rewrite it horribly. I think they just glossed over it a little too quick, considering it's like one of his main character moments.
Right.
Yeah, so I thought generally the crew was a little bit less likable, but they didn't really get very much breathing room because they had to just sort of be hurried along through the plot, so there wasn't really time for them to develop.
Yeah. I will say there's one character that I really did not like in the live action.
Yeah.
I've already told you this, but I don't know who else is with me, but I did not like live action Usopp at all. He was the only one where I was like, I don't know if it's the writing or the actor or like a mix of both, but I just absolutely, I wouldn't say hated, but like, he didn't really feel like the same character.
Yeah, I thought he was okay.
And he's the only one that I felt that way with.
He didn't really bother me that badly. I'm not really sure who's my least favorite. Like,
so Nami also didn't feel like the same character at all.
Yeah.
I didn't mind it with her because I still thought she was an interesting character.
Yeah.
Even though she was changed.
Yeah, she was different, but not worse.
Yes,
like, I think it was just a side grade. Worse. Yeah. I didn't dislike Usopp. I think he definitely had the least amount of like love put into his writing, for sure. Like, they definitely treated him probably the worst.
Yeah.
There were things that I did like about the way they did him, though. Like, there's a scene, I think it's when Luffy and Arlong are fighting for the first time at the restaurant. And while they're fighting, like, a table goes, like, flying. Like, they knock a table aside or something, and Usopp was hiding under the table, and then he just, like, crawls away to another table. Like,
and they kept the cartoony aspect.
Yeah, I love that. I was like, yes, that is exactly some shit Usopp would do in the anime. A+, chef's kiss to that moment, because that is exactly the kind of shit he would do. Like, you know what it might be? It might be that usually Usopp and Nami sort of play off each other, and if the way they changed Nami, he didn't really have her to bounce off of, so he was kind of instead trying to bounce off of Luffy, but I think Luffy they sort of changed in mannerism.
Trying to do like the fighting over who's the captain shit.
Yeah, they do that in the anime, but it's like played for more of a joke, and it's not really as recurring. Like, they only say it a couple times, I feel like, and then on.
In live action, it was more so Sanji trying to play off of Nami.
Yeah.
It was like, okay. But...
Yeah, I liked the way, honestly, I did actually think the way they handled Sanji, like, flirting with the women was actually a vast improvement to moments in the anime. Because
I like Sanji in the live action.
Yeah, Sanji was likable in the live action. I feel like Sanji's the most controversial character out of the regular anime cast because he has great moments, but then also like some of the lowest lows, like where he's just like a complete Flanderization of himself in certain episodes.
Okay.
Where like, I mean, basically the entire Fishman Island arc, he just spends as this Flanderized version of himself that can't really do anything noteworthy. It's like super annoying the whole time he spends like basically in a coma because he saw too many baddies.
Okay.
And everyone's like, wow, so all it took was a couple hot women and now Sanji can't fight actual enemies like that aren't women. Like, okay, that is kind of not great for his character. And then he gets an arc sort of dedicated to him later, but I feel like he's one of the more overhated characters because of that bit that they always do with him where he's like freaking out and simping super hard. And I think they changed it for the live action where he's more just like flirting with every woman and getting shot down. Yeah. And I way prefer that, to be honest. Like, that's a way more tolerable gimmick. But I think like Usopp's so the joke with Usopp is that he's like trying to be a brave warrior of the sea, but then whenever a fight is starting, he immediately uses Nami as a human shield. Yeah, he always dives behind Nami, like, Nami, protect me. Like, he picks the physically weakest member of the crew. Yes. He always picks the physically weakest member of the crew. Like, even like 1,000 episodes in, she's still the physically weakest one. And he still uses her by choice. Like, he could hide behind Luffy or Zoro or Sanji. Nope. Always Nami. And like, that's the bit. Is like, it's always Nami and Usopp trying to trick the other one into being like antagonizing someone that's way tougher than them. Like, they're both too afraid to fight. So, like, Usopp will, like, make some shit up and be like, oh, yeah, no, Nami is totally the one you're supposed to be fighting. And Nami's like, bro, what the fuck? You know, you should actually fight Usopp because he's a way bigger threat. You know, I'm just a girl with a stick and he has, like, a slingshot. And they just go back and forth like that. But I think the way they changed Nami didn't really give Usopp a lot of room to shine on his own. Especially with, you know, the way they were just trying to hurry everything up.
Right.
I thought he was all right, but he definitely had a lot of missed potential for sure. Like, he could have been so much more and he wasn't. I think they really glazed over his backstory as well. Like, his backstory was over and done in like 5 minutes. And I think Nami's backstory in the anime is doled out a lot better. Like, I think Usopp and Nami's backstories were sort of not as good in this version, but Luffy's and Sanji's were, like, sort of upgraded, so take your pick, I suppose.
Yeah, Luffy's was, like, beat for beat the same except for the stabbing from...
Yeah, the stabbing was the same, and then they did actually show you the thing with Garp not approving of him being a pirate very early on, which I thought was also a very good thing because it sort of immediately sets up this juxtaposition where, like, while Garp is technically his grandpa and he was trying to raise Luffy to be a good Marine, he really views, like, Shanks as his father figure, and Shanks is a pirate and he wants to be a pirate instead.
Yeah.
So they wasted no time developing that, which I think is good. So I think Luffy and Sanji both got kind of better backstories than the anime, and Usopp and Nami's were a little bit worse. Zoro's, honestly, about the same. They kind of stepped on his speech again in his backstory, but it was fine. What were you saying?
I couldn't remember Zoro's backstory in the anime before I watched the live action.
Yeah, in the anime, they pretty much copied it note for note.
Okay.
He's fighting Koina, who's the girl at the dojo.
Yeah.
And she's incredibly based. So she's like, listen, the only reason I'm beating you is because I'm older than you. But you're a boy. And when you're an adult, you'll be so much stronger than me, a woman.
Right.
That there's no chance that I'll ever be the world's best sword fighter. And he's like, well, okay, that sounds like a fucking excuse. Mad because bad. L plus ratio. Let's vow that one of us will be the best. And, we'll be like anime rivals or whatever. And fight and, try to get each other stronger. And then she dies the next day. The next day she falls down the stairs and fucking dies. And they pretty much copied it word for word. His speech was a little less cool because I believe in the anime he was like, he asks the guy teaching him for her sword, and then he gives another super fucking awesome speech where he's like, I swear I'll train every day until my name reaches up to heaven. And in like the live action, he's like, yo, I think it would be pretty dope if I was the coolest. Like, okay, all right, a little less punchy, but I think they dedicated enough time that it still landed as it was supposed to. Like, I think they're like his backstory and then the duel with Mihawk still landed how they were supposed to, although they could have been done a little bit better. And then the only other thing that I didn't really like was I thought Shanks could have been a lot more charismatic. Like, I wasn't a huge fan of Shanks.
He kind of had like I don't know. I was trying to put my finger on it the whole time, but like he did remind me of another character.
Okay.
He was very British. A lot of these people were very British, and I felt like that changed their personality.
Yeah.
To some degree.
Yeah, dude, I thought it was kind of a curveball that Garp has a Scottish accent for some reason. I thought that was odd considering.
Well, yeah, because isn't Luffy like fucking Hispanic or something?
Yeah, I think Oda said that if they had real life nationalities, I think he said Luffy would be from like Brazil, and I think the actor they cast for him, I think is Mexican. I think he's from Mexico.
Okay.
Let me see where he's from. I know he's definitely like Hispanic, but yeah, so it's weird that like, oh, that's kind of a odd combination that like grandpa is full fucking Scottish accent, but his grandson is like Hispanic. Like, it's not impossible. I guess it depends on, what they decide to do with Dragon, maybe. I don't know. Let's see. Yes, he's Mexican.
Okay. And another thing somebody pointed out that I didn't even really think about, the kid that played Luffy in the flashbacks had no accent whatsoever.
Yeah, that was funny.
He got his accent when he got older.
Yes, he grew into his. Yeah, he grew into his Mexican accent for whatever reason. I don't know how that works. Especially because he was hanging around. Especially because he was hanging around Shanks, who's British.
Right.
That's real weird. That, like, his father figure has a British accent, and his grandfather has a Scottish accent, and then he went like Mexican with it. Like, again, not impossible. Depends what they do with his parents, but like, just, I don't know. Then again, like, I feel like the child actors are always so hit or miss where it's like you can't really expect the world of them. I feel like the child actors
and these ones I thought were pretty fine. I mean,
yeah, they were okay. I thought Nami's child actor was a little like wooden with the delivery.
This scene with I guess spoilers.
Yeah.
We're doing spoilers?
Yeah, why not?
We've talked a few spoilers already. Yeah, the scene with the mom's execution was pretty bad.
Well, the scene that I really was like, oh wow, that kind of just jarred me loose from the show for a moment was when she just like, they're eating breakfast or something, and then the child actor in the most like wooden way possible, and I'm not trying to like, attack this actual child. Yeah, it's a kid. It's like, what do you expect? She's not like a professional actor because, kid. But they're just like eating breakfast and she's like, you're not even my real mom. And like that is a line that Nami says, but in the anime I think she really sells it a lot better. But then again, it's probably an adult woman that was voice acting her, or I don't know, maybe
from what I remember, like no, I don't remember a lot of their backstories in anime because it's been so long. But in Luffy's backstory, I remember it's the same voice actor.
Yeah.
In the anime.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what they did for Nami or for the other ones, but...
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm sure with Zoro they had to change it. I know in the dub they for certain did. There's no way it was Chris Sabat doing Kid Zoro. It's impossible.
Yeah, and that's true. I'm also watching the dub, so...
Yeah.
I don't know what they did for the movies.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I thought Shanks didn't quite land for me as a character in the live action version. Like, I really like him in the anime, but
yeah, he's great in the anime.
Something about those early, like, they sort of picked and chose, I think, the wrong moments to copy word for word.
Well, so I agree with that, and I think the worst case of that was the sea serpent.
Okay.
So when he stares down the sea serpent, he's like, "Get lost," and it goes away, and it's kind of hinting that he's got some higher power we don't know about yet.
Yeah.
But then in the anime, and this is the same thing. It was like word for word this scene. The anime, he goes like, "Oh," he's crying, and he's like, "Oh, Shanks, your arm, whatever," and he goes, "Oh, it's just an arm." Like just totally straight face, like no emotion. It's just an arm, Yeah, and that's fine for a cartoon, an anime, or whatever, because like that's where you're kind of more so able to suspend disbelief,
Yeah, and he's
like,
already
this guy's just so cool that he can play it straight when he's trying to calm down this kid.
Yeah, especially when like
an arm.
This is sort of a culmination of this character who's already a badass pirate. That's world renowned.
We've already seen him like keep his cool during bar fights and shit when the mountain bandits came in and he just like didn't fight them or whatever.
Yeah.
But, like in the live action, when you see that scene play out in live action and it's the same thing and it's like he's got real blood all over the place and he's like, "Oh, it's just an arm." It doesn't play off as well.
Yeah, they definitely got to play up his sort of eccentric nature to do that. Then again, like he sort of gets a little bit of slack maybe because he didn't lose the arm accidentally. Like, so he has the power to scare that Sea King away. Why would he let it take his arm?
Oh.
He has a reason for this. Like, it's not like a plot hole. Like, someone later down the line asks him, what happened to your fucking arm, bro? And he was like, yeah, don't worry about that. That was on purpose. So it's like, it's not that preposterous a line that he's like not super bent out of shape that his arm just got eaten. But I agree, it's kind of jarring to see it in live action where you're like, dude, you should be a little bit more upset about this.
Right, like, you're not a cartoon.
Like, I understand, like, canonically, you're not, like, he's not upset because that was, a sacrifice that he willingly made. But in the live action, it's definitely like, you could have maybe sold it a little bit better.
Yeah.
The thing that I didn't like was when they copied word for word one speech but not the other, and I feel like it should have been reversed. So he has like two great moments in the anime. It's where the mountain bandits are fucking with him in the bar and he doesn't fight them.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, listen, man, like I don't care. I clearly could kill all of them, but why? They spilled some liquor on me. Who cares? Yeah. Like, it's not worth killing a bunch of people over. It's such a small deal because I'm just the bigger man in this scenario. I don't care." And Kid Luffy doesn't get that because, he's still a kid. And he doesn't understand, like, oh, wait, they besmirched your honor. You need to kill them. And he's like, no. I'm world-renowned badass rich pirate. Why would I be killing people over small slights like spilling booze on me? But they copied it like word for word, and it came off a little bit corny in my opinion. But then when they show up to free Luffy from them and they hold him at gunpoint, I would have copied that word for word. And I think they did.
Oh, the line about if you take out a gun, you better use it.
Yeah, he's like, oh, you're holding me at gunpoint. Like, just so you know, you're putting your life on the line here, right? That's not a toy. That's not for threatening people. That's for killing people. If you're pulling a gun on me, you're saying you're prepared to die in this fight, and then Lucky Roo snipes him from nowhere.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like, and that's like one of my favorite Shanks moments, and it's still cool in the live action.
Guns aren't for show, they're for
Yeah,
action.
He's like, yeah, guns aren't for show, they're for action. But I think it's cooler in the anime where he's like, listen, you need to be aware that you're staking your life on this.
Yeah.
Like, not really a thing about guns, but more like the nature of like, listen, you don't understand who you're dealing with. Like, this is some shit to kill someone over.
Right.
Spilling food and drinks on me, not it. Pointing a gun at me, it's fucking on. But I don't know. I feel like they kind of muddled it a little bit. Like, I would have honestly just switched that and be like, okay, let's change up the exact wording of, if you spill some drinks on me, it's fine. I don't care. Because that came off a little cringy. But overall, I think he's okay. I would have liked a little bit more from him, though. But, I mean, honestly, that's, like, kind of my list of, like, pros and cons.
More minor ones, real minor ones.
Yeah.
Just little positive nitpicks, honestly. If that's, I'm sure there's a word for that.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of already talked about this, but as somebody who hasn't gotten to this point in the anime, I did like the kind of Helmeppo and Kobe just palling around, I guess.
Yes, yeah. Helmeppo and Kobe having little moments together was, I think, a good addition.
Yeah, that is somebody who hasn't seen it. And then the other one is just for TV shows in general. This is something that pisses me off so much with so many shows. It's like, they'll have one specific lighting technique, like a filter almost.
Yes.
Make it look like gloomy, a lot of blues, a lot of grays, and like you can tell it's all fake. It's all just from the way they lit it. It's all like this filter, and it's so annoying.
Yeah, it's the color. Yeah, it's the color correction, right? So
and
like
I noticed that they were doing it early on.
Yeah.
They had kind of like this blue-gray filter going with like the scenes in the Marine base early on.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh god, don't tell me it's one of these shows. Don't tell me they're doing this shit, right? Like it never looks good. It's not funny. It's not, creative. It's not whatever. And then as I watched more of the show, I realized what they were doing is like, yes, they are using these color filters that like every show uses now, but they change it and it's consistently used depending on where they are and who they're showing.
Yeah.
So like the naval bases are always these like dingy lighting, this blue and gray and whatever, and like the straw hats are always kind of like this almost yellowish tint. They're outside and they're doing their shit. Like I like that. I thought that was a nice touch.
Yeah. I think that's cool. So like the meme with the color correction is like, I've seen two things. You're gonna have to keep me right with this one because it's like the main criticism I've seen is Breaking Bad does it. Where everything is just vaguely, everything is vaguely
yellow. They kind of
like
started it, from what I understand.
Yeah, it's like everything is vaguely yellow because it's all like New Mexico desert, like almost every scene.
The show is not. The show is like no lighting alteration.
Okay.
The joke that everybody makes is, so whenever they want to show, all right, so like the show takes place above the border, right?
Yeah.
When they have a scene in Mexico, south of the border, to let you know that they're in Mexico now, everything's automatically yellow, like yellow filter.
Yeah.
And that's the joke that everybody makes.
Yeah, like, what if we just color correct yellow when they go to Mexico? It's like...
When you're in Mexico, yeah.
It's like, is that how it works in real life? Like if I'm flying from like Texas to Mexico, everything just becomes yellow?
It's yellow now.
Oh, that's how I know I've crossed, yeah. Like, I don't know if it's, a big deal in Breaking Bad because I haven't watched all Breaking Bad, but...
It's definitely noticeable.
Okay. Yeah, I just know that's the meme. But yeah, I can see there's definitely a time and place for color correction. Like, I think if they're trying to do it to, like, sort of have a message, like, help set the scene better, like, with the military bases looking sort of, like, bleak.
It's kind of like dingy.
Yeah, like, this kind of, like, it's not the kind of place you would want to be, versus the Straw Hats are always brightly lit, and it's, like, a fun, upbeat adventure type lighting.
Yeah.
Like, that's sort of the point of the show, is like, oh, well, you know, the Marines aren't really, like, in this world of pirates where you can set out and do whatever you want, they choose to be the cops. So the kind of person that makes that decision obviously doesn't care very greatly about their freedom. So they kind of get a lot of flack for that. Yeah, exactly. They get a lot of flack for that in universe. Like, Oda kind of has some disdain.
You'll see them use that same lighting in prisons.
Yeah.
Blues and grays and all those
colors. Yeah, where you're like, okay, they're sort of trapped. So, like, okay, here's a little bit of, like, I don't know if I call it a spoiler, but sure, it's a little bit of a spoiler, but the ability that Shanks uses to scare off the Sea King is something that not everyone has. It's like, the best way to tell if someone's going to have it is basically, it's like the strength of their spirit in terms of, like, will to power.
Okay.
Except replace power with, like, either freedom or, like, conquering things, right? So, like, if you're a very strong-willed individual with this will to freedom, you probably have it.
Okay.
And because of that, I think there's maybe only 1 or 2 Marines in the entire series that have it.
So this is not like a devil fruit thing.
No, this is just
okay.
Yeah, no, this has nothing to do with devil fruits. But a bunch of pirates have it. Only top tier pirates have it, but there's, like, I don't know, probably 10 to 15 pirates that have it, and 2 Marines ever that have it.
Okay.
Because the kind of person that chooses to be a Marine typically is not someone that, like, has this very strong will to sort of go their own way no matter what.
Right.
So that's, like, something that I always find interesting is, like, he's, you know, Oda's kind of saying something with that deliberate choice.
Yeah.
So if they're, you know, playing the color grading or color correction or whatever to support that, then, you know, I think they got to be careful to not overdo it or do it in a distracting way. But
right, and I didn't think it was, like, too bad.
Yeah.
I think the strongest place they used it by far was the Marine base. And that's, you know, like I said, the earlier episodes had a lot of scenes in the Marine base. That's why I was starting to get worried. I was like, oh, it's going to be one of those shows.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think it makes sense to use it heavily in the Marine base.
Yeah, exactly, because they're trying to set a deliberate tone with the Marine base, especially because a lot of the time they can't, like, a lot of the time the setting for the Marine base was a little bit lame in comparison to the other ones, like Alvida's pirate ship or the Baratier restaurant. Like, those, they could clearly make a lot of very, like, convincing setting decisions with the actual setting itself. Right? Like, the legwork was being done by the actual set design, not by the color correction, except with the Marine base. Right. So, yeah, I totally see what you're saying. Yeah, for sure. Oh, and I loved, one thing I forgot to note was I loved that Arlong name drops Jinbei. That's great. That's a great bit.
Jinbei.
Yeah, they so it's during the scene where he's in the restaurant and they're telling him that racism is over.
Right, I remember that.
So Arlong is eating and, you know, he's getting some weird looks or whatever, and, you know, he's having this discussion. Or no, you know what it was? It wasn't in the restaurant. I'm remembering it wrong. It was right before he sells out Nami to the Marine guy.
Yeah.
It was basically when he's telling the Marine guy to go take Nami's money. And he's like,
oh, the fucking cat ears guy or whatever?
Yes.
Like bear guy?
Yeah, Izumi, I think is his name. It's right when he's talking to Izumi, and he's like, yeah, well, listen, I can't pay you the regular bribe, times are tough or whatever, get fucked, human.
Right.
And then Izumi's like, yeah, well, it's kind of weird for you to call me human like that. I thought racism was over. Even one of the warlords of the sea is a fish man. And he's like, you shut the fuck up about Jinbei. Because you don't know. And that's a call forward to a character who's going to be relevant later. I'm a big Jinbei fan. I'm a Jinbei enjoyer, certifiable.
It's like the big blue one, right?
Yes, he's a big shark man.
Yeah, I've seen him.
I love him. And it was cool to see that because him and Arlong are personally acquainted. But you don't know that until you hear it from Jinbei, not from Arlong. Which is kind of strange that Arlong would not mention that he knows one of the warlords, but one of the warlords would mention that he knows Arlong. Because Arlong is just some rando in the East Blue.
Right.
Especially because Arlong is from the Grand Line. He's from Fishman Island. And Fishman Island is on the Grand Line. It's actually, technically it's not on the Grand Line. It's underneath the Red Line. But, minutia. Nitpick, that kind of thing. But yeah, he would have had to leave via the Grand Line to get to the East Blue to, I guess, go beat up on weaklings because he wasn't strong enough to hang in the Grand Line, I suppose. Which is weird because, he was on Fisher Tiger's crew, but, So I thought mentioning Jinbei was cool. I really liked that. And then there was one thing about the scene in the restaurant that I thought was funny that no one understood at all except for me because it's an inside joke that me and my brother have.
Okay.
So there's a bit that we've been doing. I've been watching it with him, and there's a moment during Fishman Island where Jinbei is in a restaurant and like some fight starts or something. And it became this recurring joke that we have where Jinbei stops the fight or something. I don't remember how the scene plays out, but the thing to remember is in his big tough shark man voice, he's like, I think he said something about oh, this fighting is ruining my meal or something.
Right.
And then that became just a running bit for us. We just think it's hilarious that Jinbei's recurring character gag to us specifically is that no matter what, his meal is always ruined. He's incapable of just enjoying his fucking food. It's impossible. It is not a recurring gag in the show. They say it once and never again, but we just keep making it about that.
Neither one.
Yeah. And then there's a line from Arlong when he's in the restaurant. He picks up a guy by the neck and throws him out of his chair and sits down in his spot and just starts eating his food. And everyone in the restaurant is afraid of him, and they look at him, and he looks up and goes, "What, you've never seen a fishman enjoy a meal before?" And I audibly in real life went, "No, actually, I haven't ever." I literally haven't ever seen that. Please show me that, please.
Complete me.
Yes, I was like, holy shit, how did they know? That's not a meme or anything for One Piece fans. It's just a me and my brother thing. It's oh dude, every time Jinbei is eating something, you're like, oh bro, terrible. He's not enjoying himself. Yeah, that's why he fights, is actually because he's just so miserable in his life, because he's just, every meal he's ever eaten is perpetually ruined. So that was a unintentionally 10 out of 10 moment. I love that moment. I was all on board with it. Yeah, so one more brief thing about the live action. Before I watched it, I wrote down what I believe are the 4 things that I really wanted them to nail, as these are sort of the non-negotiables. If these are good, then the show's good, and if they're not, then it's not. And it was Zoro versus Mihawk. I think if they nail that duel and that character moment, great. Nami betraying them, Sanji's backstory because it was different in the anime, and the walk to Arlong Park.
Okay.
And I would say Zoro vs. Mihawk was good. Nami's betrayal could have been better, but wasn't bad. Sanji's backstory was an upgrade. But guys, why did we change the walk to Arlong Park? That's peak. Why would we change it?
The walk to Arlong Park.
So in the anime, this is...
I've only seen that in the anime.
Yeah, so this is my...
In live action.
Yeah, this is my, like, thing that I think really stuck out to me the first time I was watching the anime was... Like, this show, the fights are not the high points. It's like the character moments surrounding the fights. The moment that I was, like, hooked completely, I was like, I gotta see where this shit goes for at least another 100 episodes or so, was during Arlong Park. It's in the anime, it plays out very similar. Nami loses all the money because Arlong betrays her. And then Luffy agrees to help her anyway, even though she already backstabbed him. Because he was like, well, you didn't do it on purpose. Like, you know, you sort of had no choice. And, you know, if you had just told us, like, we would have come and helped you. He puts the hat on her head and then is like, of course I'll help you. Guys, let's go. And then it cuts to Zoro, Sanji, and Usopp. And then they're all like, yeah, of course. And then all four of them slow walk while badass music is playing all the way through the town to Arlong Park. And it just shows them walking and playing this fucking music. And then the townspeople that are rioting are going to Arlong's base. And they get there and Yosuke and Johnny are waiting outside and they've had the shit beaten out of them at this point. And they're stopping the angry townsfolk from going in and having a word with Arlong. And they're like, well, just let us in. And they're like, no, you guys don't stand a chance. Like, if the townsfolk go in there, slaughtered for sure. And then I think it's Johnny goes, yeah, but we're waiting on a couple of guys. We know that they're going to be here. You just got to give it a couple minutes. And you can, like, see them approaching from far away, just, like, slow walking up.
Cool.
It's fucking cold. It's awesome. I love it. And they, like, referenced it but didn't copy it. And I was like, if you had to copy anything, shot for shot, word for word, copy that. Like, copy the walk to Arlong Park scene. That's, like, the coolest shit in the East Blue, no doubt. And they did reference it, like, so it still plays out the same, and then they did that picture-in-picture thing where he was like, of course I'll help you, you know, let's go, and then it cut to, you know, all three of them being like, yeah. Like, I think that was shot the same as it was in the anime, but then it just cuts to them, like, there. Like, they walk for a little bit, and then it just cuts to, like, the next day they show up. Because I think the walk-up scene happens at night in the live action. Like, the walk-up scene happens at night in the live action.
The decision to leave happens at night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like, the walk-up scene itself happens at night, but then it cuts to, like, the next day, and then they decide to actually go there. And it's like, in the anime, it's just in the middle of the day, she's like, oh my god, all the money's gone, I'm fucked, what do I do? And then they go and do that. All, like, she goes, Luffy, help me, and then they just, no fucking around, zero sidetrack, side quests, digressions. They just walk directly there and start fucking shit up.
Nice.
Yeah, it's great. So I was a little bit disappointed by that, but, I mean, the other three I think were fine. So I think a 3 out of 4 is a fair thing to say for, like, things that they had to really nail. So yeah, I mean, you know, that's what I have to say about it. There's been a little bit of interesting shit surrounding it. So, like, I think the people at Netflix were happy with it. Like, they said it performed significantly better than they thought it would.
Nice.
Interestingly enough, yeah, what's
season
up?
Season 2 is already on its way.
Yes, I was gonna say, they are taking a page out of Oda's book. Clearly, Oda is rubbing off on them because the writers are already done writing season 2, and they said, yeah, we just need to shoot it. It should be done in 12 to 18 months. Netflix hasn't even asked for a season 2 yet.
That's amazing.
Netflix has not even greenlit, like, yo, guys, yeah, let's get another season of this. And the writers are like, it's already done if you want it. Like, you know, we got to film it, of course, but, you know, give us a year. Like, fuck, nice. Hell yeah. Like, they're already done writing season 2. Meanwhile, like, Cowboy Bebop was canceled within 2 weeks of release. It came out and 2 weeks dead, we don't want anymore. So, I would say it definitely passes the, like, it breaks the bad streak of live action anime adaptations. Because, like, Cowboy Bebop wasn't good, Death Note wasn't good, all these other fucking ones weren't good. But I think the One Piece one did it, and hey, guess what? It turns out if you just do it properly, it works. Who would have guessed? It's weird that, like, all these...
Would have thunk it.
Yeah, who would have thought all of these bad anime adaptations have, like, very similar things in common? Like, the people writing it try to make it about something it's not. They don't consult the guy that fucking wrote it. The casting is terrible. The cast members are, like, picking fights with the fans over stupid shit. Like, Death Note and Cowboy Bebop both had, like, that going on. Like, I don't think they consulted the guy from Death Note for it. I for sure know they didn't talk to the guy who wrote Bebop.
Jesus. I didn't hear anything about Cowboy Bebop. That's the weird thing.
Yeah.
I heard so much shit about Death Note. I just did not hear a word about Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, Bebop was not great. It got canceled within 2 weeks. And, you know, it was like there was no hype for it because I think the guy that writes it is named... I think his name is Shinichiro Watanabe. They had asked him, like, yo, you know, this, you know, Cowboy Bebop thing about to come out. What do you think? And he's like, I have no idea. They didn't consult me for anything. I can only pray to God that it's good. Like, Jesus. Creator of the show was like, they didn't ask me for shit. I, you know, would have helped them, but they didn't ask. So, you know, your guess is as good as mine, unfortunately, and I fucking wrote it. Like, oh, okay, they're just trying to do their own thing. Cool. Are the casting decisions good for Bebop? No. John Cho's a billion years old. He's way too old to be Spike. And Faye Valentine is picking fights with fans on Twitter for no fucking reason. Oh, awesome. That's super cool. What about Death Note? Oh, yeah, we made it about a relatable underdog fucking virgin loser having a like, romance with the alt smoker chick at his high school. And also there's a Death Note in it, I guess. Plus L's black for some reason. Like, okay, what the fuck does this have to do with Death Note at all? Like, this is your weird Death Note, like, fanfic. Why are we making this into a movie?
Oh, speaking of L being black, the only, like, kind of random necessary diversity change I noticed in One Piece, and it didn't change anything. It was the fucking dude on Shanks' crew.
Yeah,
eating chicken.
I noticed that too. It was Lucky Roo. Yeah, Lucky Roo. They made him black, and I was like, "There's no reason why he shouldn't be."
Right, like, I was like, "Yeah, you can't keep Netflix that good, you know."
Well, and I thought about it, and I was like, "Well, so like, here's the thing. Like, he said." Like, okay, so the casting of the crew is diverse, but that's because when they asked Oda what nationalities would they be, they stayed faithful to that.
Right.
So, like, they asked Oda, okay, well, this was actually before Netflix was even doing this. Someone just personally wrote to Oda for a Q&A segment. What nationality would the Straw Hats be if they were in our world today? And he was like, yeah, Luffy would be Brazilian, Usopp would be from Morocco, Zoro obviously is from Japan. I think Sanji would have been like French, maybe? I think Nami would have been like some flavor of European. So they kept all of that faithful when they cast them. So, you know, no notes there. Like, okay, Usopp's black. Well, I mean, yeah, Oda said if he was in real life, he would have been from Morocco. So, fair enough. Nothing wrong with that. Like, oh, they cast a Mexican guy to be Luffy. okay, I think the cast for Luffy was actually, a great move. And he said he would be Brazilian, so, I guess I'm not from Brazil, so I'm not going to be super upset about that, Not to sound too racist or anything, but, I didn't notice the difference. He seemed like a good casting decision to me. I saw something about Oda went to go meet with the guy they cast as Luffy, and he like met him and was like, holy shit, you're just him. Like, you're just Luffy. Like, you're just Luffy in real life already. Like, he went and met him and was like, damn, I mean, you are literally exactly this character that I picture in my head. Like, so they nailed it with him. No complaints there. And I think with the nature of the manga, like, I think the only reason that he has to draw a character noticeably darker would be because he wants them to explicitly, like, by author intent, be black. So I think then every other character is just white by default. Because it's manga, right? So most of the characters are either black or white. Right. Because it's a black and white medium. It's just white paper with black ink on it. So that's why the characters so often look white, is because he does, like, most manga artists don't really give their characters like noticeable skin shades, and if they do, it's like in brief color spreads or something, or like titles, like covers. So I guess, like, thinking about Lucky Roo, he's not drawn noticeably darker like Usopp's dad is, because Usopp's dad is drawn darker, I think. And they did keep true to that, which was fine. But I guess, like, if we're saying that the East Blue is already a place where pretty much every race is represented, I don't see any reason why Lucky Roo can't be black. Like, it doesn't break the setting or anything. I was like, oh, okay, I guess they just wanted him to be black. Okay, all right, why not? Like, it didn't really add or subtract from his character, so I was like, okay, I mean, that's not really a huge deal.
It's not even really a character.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I mean, he's just kind of...
the guy with the fucking leg of whatever meat that is.
Yeah, he's just always eating a big piece of meat. That's his character, is he's the fat guy. And I was like, well, I mean, he was represented as the fat guy, for sure. So, they still stuck to him pretty well, so, I wasn't super bothered by that. But I definitely noticed it. It didn't, like, pull me out of it, but I like, made a mental note of it. I was like, oh, okay, interesting. I wonder if they're going to do that with other characters. Where they're like, yeah, well, if we stuck exactly to what Oda says, strictly by statement, then, like, 99% of characters would be white Americans. And then just random characters would just randomly be thrown in, like, flavor. Like, oh, yeah, no, I mean, Zoro obviously is Japanese. It's like, oh, okay. But that's, like, an exception then? Because, all of his side characters are drawn, like, the same. Like, the same skin tone, unless it's supposed to be notably different, like Robin or something. So, yeah, I wasn't super, like, jarred by it, I guess. But yeah, overall, I think kind of a dub. This is why you got to cast your fucking characters properly and, get the guy that wrote the characters. That's why you get the guy that wrote the characters involved in the making of the show. And it just turns out good. Wow, who would have guessed? Like, wow. We get people that actually resemble what the author has in mind for the characters. Don't have them picking fights with people on Twitter. I saw none of that. A+ fellas. Good shit. Nice. I didn't see any of the fucking Straw Hat actors being shitty about people who want them to be good and want the show to be good. Which sounds like a very low bar to clear, because you can do it by just saying nothing, but I suppose it isn't, right? Like, how many things recently have we seen come out where it's like, oh, it's an adaptation of things that people love, and people go, I hope you guys, nail this, or, oh, this casting choice doesn't look like it's going to turn out well, and then the actors, like, publicly are beefing with fans. Like, this happens, like, way too often at this point. Like, I mean, honestly, that's the most Marvel shit about Netflix at this point, is, like, I keep seeing this with Marvel movies now.
Oh, the actors, yeah.
Yeah, or, like, the actors are like, oh, I'm in a fucking Marvel movie now, so I get to just be a cunt to everyone.
Yes.
Like, oh, okay, sick. Like, I mean, the pinnacle of it obviously was Brie Larson, like, before Captain Marvel came out, being shitty.
She's just shitty everything. Shitty person, shitty actress.
Yeah, like...
She's just a bad actor. And then, oh my god. So, Captain Marvel, obviously, the biggest problem with that is that, you know, everybody was like, hey, your acting isn't very good. And she's like, hey, you're fucking sexist. And that was like her campaign for the next 3 years. You don't like this movie because you're sexist.
Yeah, and then it sort of builds up this, like, just miasma around everything that she's in. Where it's like, oh, well, I don't really want to go see it because, you know, the palpable disdain for me as a person, having never interacted with Brie Larson before, kind of is a turnoff. Like Captain Marvel was like a turning point, and it shouldn't have been. You know what I mean? Like, Marvel was still in everyone's good graces.
Until that movie,
yeah. Before Captain Marvel came out, like what had they made, right? Like, they had made the Avengers, and, like, I think, had they already done Infinity War? Like, they were still well-liked either way, right? Like, it was
either right before those movies, or, like, she was in Endgame, I remember that.
Yeah. She was established for Endgame, but I don't remember if she was,
before...
Yeah, before or after Infinity War. But basically, like, Marvel was still a thing that, like, people were excited about, and there was a lot of hype for. Like, I remember, because, you know, I was a big Marvel fan, like, growing up. So seeing, like, the Avengers movie, I was like, this shit's awesome. Like, I remember just personally...
I just saw it recently for the first time. The first Avengers.
Oh, yeah. Like, I remember being more of a Marvel fan than a DC fan, just generally before I saw any of the movies. But, like, that was decided handily for me because DC movies are fucking terrible.
Yes, they are.
And Marvel movies, the early ones, are very good.
I just saw fucking, what the hell is it called? Blue Beetle.
Oh, why?
It was because I was getting movie tickets for $4.
Oh.
There was some weird sale going on.
Wow, they are desperate.
I bought 3 movie tickets because I was like, you know what, fuck it, you know? Movies for the price of one, and
yeah.
I only wanted to see one of them. But, yeah, I saw Strays with Will Ferrell, and that was absolutely fucking terrible.
Yeah, I kind of...
Except for the ending, because I don't think anybody cares about spoilers.
Spoilers for...
The ending of the movie is
Stray.
that the dog played by Will Ferrell bites off the penis of his owner.
Oh, nice.
So that was entertaining. And the only one I wanted to see was that new Ninja Turtles. So I heard good things about that.
I didn't even know there was a new... Oh, wait, no. Oh, fuck, wait.
The one that's drawn in, like, the Spider-Verse style.
Never mind, I've never heard of this.
Never heard of that?
I got my wires crossed. There was some announcement, I think at Gamescom or something, of a new Ninja Turtles, like, video game, and I think that's what I thought it was. Because it's, like, not what you would picture from Ninja Turtles. Like, apparently this video game is supposed to be, you play as, like, one of them, and I think the others are dead, and it's also the post-apocalypse.
Fuck.
It's very strange. I was like, what the fuck? How is this? Okay. All right, I'll keep tabs on that, I guess. But I didn't know there was
this is
also
just like
a movie.
It was made by Seth Rogen, I think.
Okay, interesting.
I don't know, I heard good things about it, so I went and saw it. It was okay.
All right.
It was fun. You know, I have no nostalgic connection to the Ninja Turtles, but it was fun.
Yeah, neither do I. How was Blue Beetle?
And then Blue Beetle was probably the worst one of the 3.
Oh, dear God. Nice.
I would say it was worse than Strays, and Strays was pretty fucking bad.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, that's That's the thing, right? Like, I remember growing up being like, oh, you know, I think Marvel is cooler than DC, just because DC was like, you know, I've never been a super huge fan of DC heroes, but like, you know, if it was just comics versus comics and you liked DC more, I'd be like, yeah, okay, that's fine. It's a matter of opinion. But then, like, Marvel started making movies, and I loved those fucking early movies. Like, I remember, like, going to see Iron Man in theaters with my dad and my brother, because my dad's a big, like, at least he was a big Marvel fan, like, before the movies got fucking terrible.
Yeah, I never got into it, like, at the starting point. So I just never...
Yeah, I was...
I love the Guardians movies, except for
Guardians.
the third one.
I haven't seen the third one. Is it bad?
I didn't finish it.
Oh, boy.
It's, like, very mid.
Okay,
and then I didn't finish it, so...
I got you, okay.
The music isn't nearly as good as the first two.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Lame.
The Guardians 2 is by far my favorite Marvel movie.
Yeah, Guardians 2 is great. Guardians 1 and 2 are both great. I might like Guardians 1 more, but Guardians 2 is still a great fucking movie.
Guardians 2 is fucking amazing.
Yeah, it's still an awesome movie for sure.
It's the only Marvel movie that's on... Like, I have, like, my top 10 movies lists or whatever. I actually have it written down on my phone somewhere. And that is the only Marvel movie that makes it on that list.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, my favorite... Just superheroes in general, though? Yeah. No, it's weird, because, like, it's the most basic opinion to have. For some reason, it's an unpopular opinion now. But my favorite one is Superman. Which has been.
Okay, interesting.
Superman, I would say top 3 are Superman, Spider-Man, and the Hulk.
Yeah?
So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never been a huge Superman fan. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with liking him, but I don't know. I've never been super into the way DC writes superheroes.
Well, I don't like modern Superman. I don't like the... No, like... When I think of Superman, I think of just, like, Christopher Reeve's Superman.
Okay.
Like, the first Superman movie, Superman.
Yeah, I got you. Okay.
Gene Hackman played Lex Luthor and shit.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think so much of, like, are you into DC or are you into Marvel is, like, so much about, like, well, you know, what...
Which iteration?
Yeah, like, which iteration and, you know, how, like... When you were a kid and really into superheroes, which one was killing it? Like,
when I was a kid, it was Superman. Like, that's definitely a nostalgia thing for me.
Yeah, like, which one was really formative for you as a child is really the one that, like, seems to be the one that people end up liking. Because I remember, like... So I remember my first exposure to Marvel was before, like, the Avengers movies or anything. Like, I just liked X-Men. And unfortunately, X-Men...
I don't think I've ever seen the X-Men. Aside from, like, Deadpool.
Yeah, like, you know, I think the X-Men are cool. But, like, what a terrible, like... Why are they treating that franchise so poorly? Make some fucking X-Men movies. God damn it. Like, just do it. Just make more movies. What? Sony, what are you doing? I think Sony owns the rights, and they're just not doing it. Like,
were there any good ones?
Yeah. I think there were some good ones. I don't remember watching, like, I don't remember being conscious enough to really form, you know, high tier opinions about them. But I remember seeing bits and pieces of them when I was a kid, and I liked them. I remember that scene where the one lady, I don't remember her name, because it's been so long. I might be completely wrong, but I'm gonna say shot in the dark. It's Jean Grey, because, you know, X-Men be like that, Jean Grey being important. But then again, could be someone else. I just remember the end of one of the movies where she's, like, running from, I think, like, Juggernaut or something, and she's running from Juggernaut, and her ability is, like, she can pass through walls or something. So she's running through this, like, huge building and just running through all these walls and just, like, passing through them like fucking Danny Phantom or some shit. And, like, Juggernaut is chasing her, and he's just barreling through the walls, like, knocking them down, chasing her.
It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I was like, that's so cool. I remember that distinctly in my memory, because I was like, that's just such a cool scene. Like, I love that stuff. And, like, you know, Wolverine's cool. Like, you know, Professor X. I like Professor X versus Magneto, that kind of thing. Nightcrawler's cool. Gambit's cool. Like, But then I remember
Who's his brother? Isn't one of the villains Professor X's brother?
I don't know enough to say yes or no.
Okay.
But I just remember like, oh yeah, my like first exposure to Marvel was X-Men, and I was like, yeah, X-Men's pretty cool. I like Wolverine. I like seeing Wolverine fuck some shit up, and obviously Spider-Man. But then like going to the movies and being like, oh shit, Iron Man. I didn't even know Iron Man was a thing. My first exposure to Iron Man was that movie, and Iron Man 1's a pretty good movie.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, and then I was like super hyped for it because they set up the Hulk. And I remember at the end, like, the idea of waiting until after the credits for extra bit of exposition to set up the next movie was so novel at the time. Like, no other movies were doing it. And I was like, oh my god, this shit is crazy. Like, I didn't even know to do that. Like, I was like, oh, credits. And then my dad was like, wait, hold on. Wait until after the credits. And I was like, they can put shit after the credits? They can do that? Yo! And then they're like, oh yeah, it's, Nick Fury is there. And I'm like, I don't know who Nick Fury is, but that guy seemed cool. It's Sam Jackson in an eye patch.
Yeah.
And you're like, that guy just seems cool. It's like, yeah, he's getting the Avengers together. And I was like, I don't know who the Avengers are, but I want to know. Like, now I want to know. And then we went and saw the Hulk movie, and it was good, considering they had
Is it the Ed Norton one?
Yeah, they had to switch actors for Hulk midway through MCU. Not midway through, after his first movie they had to switch. And, the CG can only be so good because it was, like 2000s. And the Hulk is a very CG character.
Yes.
No way to make him look good practical. So, but yeah, like that was good. And then Thor, like, they put out some good movies. Like, dude, the first Captain America. Oh, great. And then I was like, yeah, I'm sold.
I haven't
like
seen any of those original ones.
They're solid. They're like solid movies. Like, I'm sure at this point, like, they won't hold up as well just because, the formula is sort of done to death.
Yeah, of course.
But seeing it as like a kid fully realized as this thing, like as it was happening, was so cool. I was like, yeah, you know what? What has, DC done for me recently? It was like Dark Knight. And like,
yeah,
I remember seeing Dark Knight, like those Dark Knight movies in the theaters as a kid. And like, they were cool, but it was sort of like too much for me to really understand. Like, it was kind of,
yeah, they were intense movies.
Yeah, it was too heavy for me to like really get it.
So I actually just watched that trilogy for the first time like last month.
Okay. What'd you think?
And it's like, I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it. I thought it was good. But, and no, as a kid, I understand like not liking that.
Yeah.
Finding it boring or whatever.
Yeah, I didn't find it boring because I thought Batman was like cool, but I was like, yeah, but it's not as cool as like this Avengers thing. Like, there was nothing after the credits. It was just one superhero, and like his power is like he's bulletproof and beats guys up.
Yeah.
I was like, well, he's fine. And then the Joker was like, Heath Ledger's Joker is really like a high tier Joker, I would say.
Yeah.
But even then, I was like, it's not a movie that's well made for kids.
No, it's not.
Right? Like, it's not a kid movie. Like, I suppose you could watch it as a kid, but, there'd be so much that you're just not getting. Whereas, like, the early Marvel movies are so much more accessible for kids.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not to say that, like, the first Marvel movies are kids' movies, because there's still, like, weighty things happening. Like, the first Iron Man movie is, like, Iron Man is an arms dealer. Like, he makes, he runs like Raytheon, basically.
Okay.
And there's a demonstration where he's like, yeah, look at how, we can fuck up these Middle Eastern guys, because that was like the cultural context at the time. It was like, he's in the Middle East, and then he gets like kidnapped by terrorists, like straight up, like exactly what you would think like mid-2000s terrorist interpretation is. Like, Middle Eastern dude, towel on his head, AK in his hand, like, and they keep him in a fucking cave because, that was the cultural conception of Afghanistan at the time was, oh, it's just a bunch of like dudes with AKs living in caves. And they keep him in a cave, and then they want him to build them weapons or something. And he builds, like, a prototype Iron Man suit and, like, kills all of them with it. And, like, breaks out. Like, there's a lot of context there that I just didn't get, because, you know, I was, like, a kid, so I didn't really know much about, like, you know, war in Iraq or anything. But, like, oh, Iron Man, he's just this super cool guy, and then he gets kidnapped, and then they show that montage of him building the suit, and then he runs out there and lights those guys on fire. That was pretty sweet. And then the rest of the movie was like, cool. And then Hulk, it was like, oh, big green guy beating shit up. I love it. Captain America, he throw the shield at the screen. Thor's cool. I like Thor. It was just cool to see it, like, get built up over time. And then DC was like, we have Batman and no one else.
Yeah.
Like, no Superman, no Wonder Woman, no Flash, no Green Lantern, none of that. None of them are getting any fucking movies. And then they eventually did make a Green Lantern one, and it fucking sucked.
All their heroes suck except for, like I said, I like Superman, but aside from that, I mean,
absolutely hate Green Lantern. I think Green Lantern is such
a fucking it's just
weak.
A dumb concept.
God, I fucking hate Green Lantern whenever he's in anything. I irrationally hate Green Lantern for some reason. I don't know why. And I've started to irrationally hate the Flash as well.
Well, is that just because of Ezra Taylor?
No, it's not because of Ezra Taylor. It's more the demographic of people that like the Flash.
He just goes fast. I mean, he's not...
Like,
I feel like that's a really bad standalone power.
They made up a bunch of, like, fake bullshit that makes no sense to be like, yeah, but he's so fast, it's like a bunch of other superpowers that stem from him being fast. And it's like, yeah, but why can't Superman do that? Right? Like,
right, Superman's also fast.
Yeah, but Superman's also fast. And they're like, yeah, but he doesn't have the speed force. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, Superman could be as powerful as the Flash, but he doesn't have enough autism? Is that what you're telling me? Like, really? The problem with Superman is that he's too much of a Chad and he has too many powers and not enough autism, really? For real? Okay, alright, whatever, man. Like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like early on, the decision was kind of made for me to be a Marvel guy. But then...
Yeah, sure.
Like, Brie Larson, to bring it full circle...
That's right, I forgot we started with her.
Yeah, Brie Larson is, like, making public statements like, well, yeah, I mean, you know, maybe, like, you know, this movie just isn't for, like, dudes. Like, being just sort of antagonistic to, like, the core demo.
Yeah.
Like, wow, who's going out and really watching these Marvel movies? It's like, well, it's, you know, nerdy dudes generally, because it wasn't really a cultural, like, phenomenon to the point of, like, everyone going and seeing it like it is now. So for you to be like, yeah, this isn't really for you, core demographic, and then the movie doesn't do very well, and then she's like, it's because of the sexism. It's like, I think it's because you told
us not to see it.
You told people not to go see it, and then I didn't see it, and now you're mad at me? Like,
you told us we wouldn't like it.
Yeah. Like, yeah, this movie isn't for you. You maybe stay home on this one. And it's like, okay. And then the movie does terrible, and then they're like, what the fuck happened? It's like, just don't be picking fights with people. Like, it's so stupid. I don't know why that isn't a more, like, cemented thing in so many of these Hollywood contracts. Like, it's so funny. Of course, I feel like this is, anytime we talk about movies, it's always like Marvel and then a Star Wars thing in there too, because I was about to make it Star Wars. Because, like, it's so funny seeing pre-release press tours from Mark Hamill before Episode 8. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen, like, Episode 8 for Star Wars, right? Like,
the fucking
TLJ.
Last Jedi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one.
Fucking blows.
Yeah. His, like, pre-release, like, media is so funny for that. Because he's trying to be diplomatic. Like, he's trying to be cool and, like, not tell everyone that the movie is ass. But
He actually hated that movie. Yeah, I remember that.
But he's also not lying. Like all of the pre-releases, like they're like, so Mark, what about this movie really stands out to you? And he's like, well, it's the longest one. And it's like, you know what? He's not wrong. But is that really a ringing endorsement? It's the longest Star Wars. And you know what? He's not wrong. Like, he's not really selling it.
It was in the theater for a while.
Yeah. He's like, it is the longest one. And I disagreed with Rian Johnson about a lot of the stuff that he did. But I think I'm okay with it now. And it's like, that is not an endorsement of the movie at all.
No.
Like, those are just factual statements that have nothing to do with your opinion about the movie. But that's like the most diplomatic way you could answer that without being like, yeah, it's kind of mid. Shit kind of sucks. Like, because that's what he wanted to say. Like, every clip you can see him trying to not be like, yeah, it's bad. Please don't see this.
Yeah.
I feel like if everyone just acted like that, you'd be able to tell. But now all these actors are like, no, it's the greatest thing ever, and if you don't like it, it's a personal failing because of you. It's like, or it's just not my thing. You know what? I'm just not going to see. I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to keep my money.
Yeah, do it.
Like, I'm just going to not buy the ticket. That's fine. If you're going to make that big a deal out of, if you don't like this movie, it must be because you're a scumbag. Then I'm just not going to watch it. Like, fuck you.
Dude, one of my favorite memories in recent years is we were... Like, when did this movie come out? Yeah, we were high school seniors. And it was like right before the pandemic hit. It was like December. So it was like, when did the pandemic hit? Like, it had already hit, but like quarantine started like March, I guess.
Yeah.
So it was like the end of December. And Rise of Skywalker had come out. And everybody had already seen it. The first time. So news had already spread that like it fucking sucks.
Yeah. This one's probably kind the worst of an one. L.
Right. So you hadn't seen it.
Yeah.
I had already seen it. And we were like, all right, fuck it. Like, you have to see it. Like, even though it blows, like, it's the last Star Wars movie. You got to see it. So you and I went to see it in theaters. It was like weeks after release. Everybody had seen it. Everybody knew it sucked. So the theater was empty. It was us and like maybe two other guys.
Yeah.
So the whole time we were just like ripping on the movie. It was great.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that was fun. Like, I don't know. I feel like the way that people review stuff should just be changed a little bit, and we could all have a lot more fun doing stuff. Because if I had to review like the new trilogy, I'd be like, they're terrible. But I did have a lot of fun watching those last two because they're bad, and I had fun at the theater, like shitting on it with
ripping on them. Yeah.
Yeah. It was fun being in the theater being like, this is dumb. Like, this is straight bad.
Fucking stupid.
Yeah, this thing is terrible. And just joking about it the whole time. Like, I had, like, probably 8 or 9 out of 10 fun, but I would not describe those movies as 8 or 9s out of 10.
Right. So there's different ways of enjoying a movie.
Yeah, like, instead of being like, is the movie good? You can obviously judge it like, is it, well made or, whatever, like something like that. But then also be like, how can you have fun with this?
And that's what I think like my biggest problem is with some of these superhero movies. Blue Beetle, I think, was the perfect example of like a bad movie. You were not going to think like, oh, that was clever writing or good acting or like anything like that. Like, it was a bad movie.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, it wasn't bad in the way of like, it's funny because it's so bad. It was just mid to infinitum. Like, it was just so fucking boring.
Yeah.
Sitting through it.
Like, if something's hilariously bad, it's still hilarious.
Right. Like, I had no enjoyment.
But if it's just mid the
Even
whole
just
time,
sitting in a theater.
yeah, it's like, well, why'd I even spend money on this? Like, hilariously bad, like, at least I got a laugh out of it and I could have enjoyed myself. But, like, boring is like, I don't want to pay to be
boring movie.
Yeah, like, I feel like that's, like, kind of a broader thing that so many things are running up against. It was funny, I was putting up a clip a couple days ago where we were kind of saying a similar thing, and I read a comment that was interesting. It was a comment a guy left, and it was basically about like, oh yeah, it seems like so much stuff coming out nowadays is just bad.
Yeah.
And I think I sort of get why. Like, not to get too meta, but I think the problem is, like, things have stopped really having a core demographic.
Yeah.
Like, so the thing that I think is really the problem facing, like, the Marvel movies, right? Like, why, Marvel movies are now, like, a thing that everyone's like, ugh, gross, is because they've sort of sold out, right? Like, the first couple Marvel movies that came out to set up the Avengers was, like, it was for people that were fans. Like, they made the movie like, okay, this is for people that grew up reading Avengers comics and watching cartoons of Marvel characters, and they finally get to go to a theater and see it, and it'll be really cool. And it was for those people, and if you were that kind of person, you very likely enjoyed yourself. Like, high degree of certainty you were cool with it. But, like, if you weren't into superheroes as a thing, like, if you were an adult and you were just like, I don't know, I sort of grew out of superheroes, like, then you probably wouldn't like it.
Right.
Because it's not really for those people. It's for the people that are still into it.
Yeah.
But now, like, it seems like everything that's coming out is being designed so that it is for everyone. And by trying to design something for everyone, you're kind of making something for no one.
Yeah. I get that.
Like, if we make this Blue Beetle movie, what if we just take zero risks? Obviously, if we take zero risks, nothing interesting will happen. There will be nothing remarkable about the movie whatsoever. But it also can't be bad. Like,
right.
It's not like people will viscerally hate it for ruining something from their childhood, because we played it safe at every turn.
But now I viscerally hate it because I was bored.
Yeah.
For 2.5 hours.
Yeah, you're not like, oh my god, they did Blue Beetle wrong. But you're like, yeah, it was just boring. I just sat through that whole
fucking
movie.
time.
Yeah, I just wasted all that time watching that movie for no reason because they didn't take any risks. But the problem is, if they take risks, then people might not like the risks that they take, or like not like the artistic interpretations that they make or something. Like, but like, just make the movie for the fans of the thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's why is that the thing that Hollywood fails to understand? There's so much money and so many talented people. Why do we not get that consistently?
Well, all right. I agree 99.99%.
Yeah.
I think there is one very recent exception.
Okay.
I think a lot of people have said the same thing. But the Mario movie.
Okay.
So the Mario movie was like just a stupid fun movie. And they clearly focused a lot on just like really hiding the Easter eggs.
Yeah.
So I sat in the theater with my friend Matt, and 2.5 hours, or not 2.5 hours, it was an hour and a half, I guess. It was a very short movie. But we were just sitting there, right? And the whole time we're just pointing at the screen like fucking chimpanzees, like, hey, it's the thing from the game.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. It was a stupid movie, but it was fun.
They're like, oh, okay, well, we're making the Super Mario movie. Like, this is clearly not...
I grew up playing Mario games. Yeah, that was fun as hell.
This is clearly not, like, some overly serious, insisting upon itself thing that we need to make. Like, let's just make it something that, like, oh, everyone's played Mario, or is at least aware of it. Let's just make it something that, like, if you like Mario, you can go and have fun watching it.
I think that was one of the few movies with, like, a good balance where, like, they played it safe. Like, it's a kid's movie. Still a kid's movie. Like, yes, they're still playing it safe in that respect of, like, it's meant to please all children. It's a bright, colorful, happy, whatever. but it's also like they got the nostalgia thing going.
Yeah, of course.
They did it well.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, it's not like taking risks means they have to do some sort of avant-garde. Like we're doing Mario, but now it's about like the crushing weight of all of the Goombas that he stomped, and how he can't sleep at night. Knowing,
is he really the good guy?
Yeah, knowing with them, on his conscience, like that kind of thing, right? Like yeah, it's core demo is kids, so make it something that kids will enjoy. So bright colors.
You also know that, adults that grew up with the games are going to want to see it, so...
Yeah, so, throw them some red meat, and, you're good. That's why I liked the One Piece live action, was I was like, oh, I feel like it's striking this balance between appealing to new people that haven't seen it, and this is their first exposure to it, and people that are huge fans that are going to want to watch this thing that they really love in a new medium, and, let's just a couple winks and nods every now and then, yo, not everyone knows who this Bellamy guy is, but you do. Right. Arlong's casually dropping Jinbei's name. If you just watch the live action, you have no idea who Jinbei is. But if you read or watch it, you do. Oh, okay, cool. It's still, dropping references for the fans, and it's made clearly for people that are susceptible to liking One Piece. And, that's why I'm like, yeah, I thought it was good. It, could have been better, but could have been significantly worse.
Oh, yeah, dude.
It could have been so much worse. So, give it kind of a pat on the back for that. All right, I got one more thing that I'd like us to talk about real quick. It's just a little...
Yeah, you go for it.
I mean, I don't know about it being lighthearted. I was about to say lighthearted, but it's actually not. It's actually incredibly not lighthearted, but I'm about to make light of a tragedy anyway, so let's do it.
I'm trying to think of recent tragedies.
It's nothing you would have heard of.
Okay.
This is just a random headline that I just saw, and I was like, yo, what? This headline is wild. And I don't know, I feel like it's always fun to just cover wacky, goofy crimes.
Okay.
So, this is an article written for HuffPost, and it's by Drusilla Morehouse.
That's a shit-ass name.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I'm just reading what they put.
Sorry, Drusilla.
Yeah, yeah. No, oh, don't worry. There's a far worse name in here.
Oh, okay.
So, okay. Let me really get into the right headspace to read this. Okay. So this is an actual story that happened. This is not like a satire site as far as I'm aware. Maybe I'm just getting trolled, but who knows. I saw this headline and I had to click on it. I think I'm becoming more susceptible to clickbait over time.
Yeah.
Here's what it reads. 16-year-old girl killed in stabbing after alleged dispute over McDonald's sweet and sour sauce.
Oh.
And I was like, man, I gotta know more. I gotta know. You got stabbed over McDonald's sauce? Really? So I clicked on it, and I'm going to read to you this enlightening article by Miss Drusilla Morehouse. It says, another 16-year-old girl is accused of stabbing...
Another?
Yes. So it looks like it was likely this 16-year-old girl was killed in an argument with another 16-year-old girl.
Okay.
Over McDonald's. A 16-year-old girl died after another teen allegedly stabbed her during an argument about McDonald's sweet and sour dipping sauce outside the fast food restaurant in Washington, D.C. early on Sunday, according to the police. The victim's name is Naima, Naima, is her first name, and then her last name, incredibly unfortunate, possibly even more unfortunate than being stabbed to death over McDonald's. Her last name is Ligon.
That's the real tragedy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised she wasn't the one that killed someone.
Yeah.
Because I could see how she snaps very easily.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't like the McDonald's sweet and sour sauce? Naima Ligon? Well, why don't you lig on these balls?
Got him.
And then You know what? She's actually justified in murdering someone that says that, I feel like. Yeah. So, Naima Ligon, who lived in Waldorf, Maryland, was taken by car to a hospital where she was pronounced dead sometime after 2 a.m., the Metropolitan Police Department said. Police arrested another girl, also 16, from Waldorf on Sunday on suspicion of second-degree murder, adding that the teen had a knife in her possession at the time.
Fuck.
So, I mean, that's a wild thing to get killed over.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the suspect, her attorney pleads not guilty, and then the prosecutor said, quote, "The fight was captured on surveillance video, which allegedly showed the girl lunging at Ligon as she was getting back in the car." At Monday's hearing, a detective testified that Ligon, the 16-year-old, and another girl were arguing about sweet and sour sauce prior to the stabbing. And then we have a little bit of words from the judge. So the judge in the case said, "At the end of the day, someone is dead over a dispute over sauce."
Jesus, man.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like, I don't really know where to go with this, but like, I feel like, is there anything more petty you could stab someone over than this? Like, what kind of dispute even is this that results in you getting stabbed? Like, so the subject of the dispute is sweet and sour sauce. Like, what does that mean? Like, what was the fight specifically, though? I couldn't find what the fight was specifically over. Like, was it like, "Hey, bitch, you're taking all my sauce," and then, they came to fucking, settle it outside? Or was it, "Yo, what's your favorite McDonald's sauce?" And then she's like, "Sweet and sour." And then she's like, nah, it's mid.
Not gonna happen.
Yeah, I'm not having it. I'm not taking that disrespect, bro. You will not slander the good name of the sweet and sour sauce in my presence, okay? Take it back or we're throwing down. I will kill you legitimately. Like, what level of quarrel happens because of this? Like, I couldn't find what happened. Other than it was McDonald's related. And I mean, couldn't you pick like a better place than McDonald's? Of course it's always like McDonald's, but I feel like throwing your life away should be at least something like classier than McDonald's.
Yeah. I
don't know. Oh, also, I love there's just a tidbit in here that just makes me laugh. The statement from the mom of the girl that died, she was talking about her, and she said, "She was loved and admired by so many people. Naima loved music and the arts, basketball, and she was shaping up to be a master barber. She had just been hired to work at Krispy Kreme as a donut specialist."
Oh.
What's a donut specialist? Damn, why is this the first I've heard of it?
I want to be one.
Yeah, like, that sounds cool, right? What does it mean to be a donut specialist? I have no idea. I keep thinking about it, and I'm like, I don't know what that means.
It's a good question.
Like, do you come up with flavors? Like, probably not. Like, is that just the super pretentious, like, name they give to, like, you just put the dough in the oven?
Sounds like it.
Yeah, I just glaze them. I just glaze the donuts. I'm kind of a specialist. How special are you really? I don't know. That stuff is just... Yeah, that kind of thing is just funny. The, like, job titles, these super pretentious names for, like, not very complicated things.
Yeah.
Like, all right, hypothetically, if you were working at a McDonald's and you wanted to make that look really good, couldn't you just be like, yes, I was administrating and facilitating the delivery of food goods for an international corporation. Like you work the drive-through at
I mean, you
McDonald's.
could bolster anything. That's just resume bullshitting.
I know.
I do it
It's
all
just.
the time.
I know. I just have a passion for that.
Yeah, man.
Something about that is just fun to see, like how.
Dude, you should read the shit I put on my resume for like when I worked at Panera in high school.
Nice. Do you remember any of it? Was there anything that was like especially good about it?
Oh fuck, let me see. I could pull it up.
I gotcha.
All right, so just for reference, I was like essentially a janitor.
Okay.
I was either washing dishes or cleaning the dining room and bathrooms and shit. So let me see. I might have actually taken it off my resume, but let me check. Because I had more experience to put on there.
I gotcha. I just had to redo my resume because I was applying to some places.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, I just redid mine.
Gotta find it.
Bro, I put this on here. I put the podcast on my resume. I can't tell if that's a good idea or a horrible blunder. I can't really tell. I needed to pad it a little bit. So hello to my future employer. What's up? What's good?
All right, so the most padded one, this isn't the most ridiculous, but it's by far the most padded, is a self-employed independent tutor.
Nice. Yeah, but that one's like true, though.
It's true, but I tutored your brother like how many fucking years ago?
Yeah, but like, that's still like true, though.
Claim that it's from that time to the present.
Yeah, why not?
That people just hire me and...
That's true.
Laboratory technician intern, where I mixed cement.
I mean, you better put your fucking internship on your resume.
Yeah, I just made it sound a hell of a lot better.
Yeah, but like, what else is the point of that?
Performed routine lab maintenance to keep my area sanitary, as well as routine safety inspections of other employees' labs.
So I would
really
sweep
means,
and look at things.
Wipe the cement off the fucking counter.
Yeah, exactly. I would sweep and look at things.
Yep. An analytical test to physically and chemically characterize synthetic polymers and waterproof cement coatings. I would put them in a machine and press a button and then leave for like an hour.
Ah, you oversaw it.
I oversaw it.
Yes. I feel like every resume is vastly improved by just throwing the word facilitate in there.
It's a good word.
That's a 10 out of 10 word to put on your resume because it sounds like you're doing a lot, but it means almost nothing. Like what's the bare minimum to say you facilitated something? Like you just made it easier. That's what facilitate means. Like is to just make something easier, like the process of something happening easier. Like the bar for that is so low.
Oh, for sure.
Like, if you're at a job and just not actively sabotaging everyone there, you were facilitating whatever they do. Yeah, that stuff is always fun. Yeah, I ended up putting the podcast on my resume.
And as long as you write good shit.
Yeah, right? That's what I thought.
Maybe they check it out. Maybe we get a subscriber. You know?
Yeah. They're like, they call me back. They're like, yeah, sorry. We just don't need your help though. That podcast is pretty funny though. Just like.
And slabs.
Yeah. They're like, yo, you just got a sub. Oh, no, we do not want to employ you. They're like, yeah, no, it's very funny the way you just like made a whole bit about the girl dying over McDonald's sauce. Yeah, that's hilarious that she's like super dead now over fucking nothing.
Super dead.
Anyway, we don't want to hire you for some reason. For some unknowable reason, we do not want to hire you. It was a little bit funny. Yeah. Who could say really why I didn't get that job? Then again, I also had no relevant work experience, so probably it was that.
Maybe.
Might have had something to do with it, but I'm not sweating it too hard. All right, let me just make sure I got nothing else because we've been going for a while now. I just got to make sure I don't have anything else like super important to grab up here. I kind of wanted to do a bit about EDP, but nah. That's a whole other change that I could go on for so long about that. Oh yeah, the singer for Smash Mouth died, and so did Jimmy Buffett. They both died.
Yeah.
2 American heroes. Yeah. On par with Captain America, to be honest. It was funny reading again. I gotta stop every sentence about someone dying with it was really funny when
why the dude from Smash Mouth died, right?
Something with his liver, right?
So his liver failure.
Okay.
Because he was just,
he's partying.
Incredible alcoholic.
Because he was so cool. His liver gave out under the sheer amount of his cool.
I was talking to I was about to say my friend. She's not my friend. My girlfriend's friend, and
nice, nice.
Sorry, see, this is why I don't let Rachel listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
Her roommate is just the worst. I act civil. I'm not a dick.
That's why. Of all of the reasons. Fair enough.
She was telling me that she went to a Smash Mouth concert.
Okay.
And their reputation was just that, like, every single show, it would come out, like, already blackout drunk.
Nice.
Their concerts were known to just be, like, shitty. Not just because the music was shitty, but also because they were just drunk as fuck.
The starting point is Smash Mouth.
The starting point is sober Smash Mouth.
Yeah, the starting point, the best this concert could possibly be is sober Smash Mouth. And then they come out and they're all shit-faced. Wow.
Yeah, that's what they were known for, so.
Yeah, I don't know what I was expecting, but it was somehow better than this. Yeah, it was I don't know, something that I thought was funny in relation to this guy's death, because deaths are just hilarious to me, I guess.
Yeah, of course, man.
Everyone that they asked about it, like all of the people that gave statements about it, were like, yeah, no, I mean, it just, it sucks that he's known as like the all-star guy, but like, all-star though. Like all of them were like that. They were like, yeah, I mean, his cultural impact was, so much more than all-star. But I mean, you also can't underestimate the massive hit that was All-Star.
They hated that they were the Shrek band, but like they were the Shrek band.
Yes. Like it's
not something you come back from.
Yeah. Like I'm sympathetic to that, I guess, because I mean,
I don't understand why you wouldn't like that. Like it's a beloved movie and people like your music, and like, I mean,
yeah, all right. So
I was John Williams not liking being the Star Wars guy.
Yeah, he's like, oh, why does everyone think I'm the Star Wars guy? It's like,
I wrote other film scores
because it's iconic, though.
Because people fucking love it. Yeah,
like it might not be your best work, but it's your most iconic work for sure. Most recognizable, most culturally significant.
Being a bitch.
Yeah, I was about to really sell myself short there. I was about to say, I might not understand because I'm not on the level of Smash Mouth, and then I thought about it. I was like, you know what? I can say it. Like, you know what? I feel like I am on that level. It's fine. No, I sort of am sympathetic to that thing of like, someone that considers themselves like a creative, and then they put out a bunch of stuff, and then it's the things that you never expect that get the most traction.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure when they were writing All-Star, they weren't like, now this is going to be in Shrek, and this song is going to define us for our entire careers up until we fucking die. This song is going to haunt us. Like, I'm sure that's not what they wanted from it, but it sort of had, like, once it becomes popular enough, it sort of has its own mind at that point. Like, it's, you know, it's its own separate thing.
Yeah. And I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it would be kind of annoying if you were in a band and, like, a song that you didn't really like ends up being the one that people are the most receptive to.
I get it, but I still think he's a bitch. You know, fortune and fame.
Yeah, that's true. Well, yeah, that's the other part of it, is that it's like, well, yeah, but then again, like, you are, you know,
you made it. Stop
famous, and you did make some money off it. Like, you know, how upset can you really be, especially, like, considering none of their other stuff took off?
Like, be grateful. It's kind of the way I see it.
Yeah, like, what songs does Smash Mouth make? They made All Star and a cover of I'm a Believer.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, that's all they...
Both of them from Shrek.
Yeah, that's all they got. And they're both Shrek songs. Like, yeah, okay, well...
So, Shrek was a great movie.
Shrek was great. Shrek is awesome. Shrek is still a great movie. There's nothing wrong with your song being in Shrek, but...
It was the first animated movie to win an Academy Award. Like, come on.
Oh my god, it did?
Yes.
What did it win it for?
It beat Monsters, Inc. that year.
Oh, shit. Really?
Yes, it was the first Academy Awards where it had a category for Best Animated Movie.
Okay.
And it beat Monsters, Inc.
I don't know that I agree that it should have beat Monsters, Inc. I like Shrek.
Neither do I, but it was still great.
I was going to say, I'm thinking about this. I'm like, yeah, Shrek is really
no,
cool.
Monsters, Inc. is fucking amazing.
But, like, Monsters, Inc. is, like, really
Monsters, Inc. is Monsters,
good,
Inc.
though. Yeah, like, Monsters, Inc. is really good, though. I don't know. You know what? Rare instance where the Academy is wrong.
A pre 2010 Pixar movie. Nothing should beat that.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, especially like
Pixar movies are just like ass.
Well, especially because Shrek, like, it's fun and it, you know, obviously like part of my childhood. Right. But like Monsters Inc. is just a better looking movie.
The other thing also is like, I don't really love Shrek. I love Shrek 2.
Nice.
I'm dead serious. Like, yeah. I always thought, like, if I was to rank the 4 Shrek movies, right, it would be 2, 1, 4, 3.
Okay.
I think that's, like, indisputable. I think the reason that everybody's like, oh, you know, like, Shrek is so great, and then I'll be like, conversation I'll bring it up, I'll be like, yeah, but I think Shrek 2 is better. And people are like, what? No, like, I don't remember Shrek 2. And, like, that's the problem.
Yeah, as no one remembers.
You don't remember that, like, a lot of the stuff that you remember about Shrek was in Shrek 2, not in Shrek 1.
See, I'm kind of
We haven't watched these movies since we were kids.
Well, I was about to say, I'm kind of uniquely educated to talk about Shrek.
Okay.
See, I don't remember Shrek 2, 3, or 4. And the only reason I remember Shrek 1 vividly enough is because that one time that you and I were hanging out at your dorm and we watched it. And we watched it, and then I almost missed the train and saw a homeless lady spit on that guy. So I'm kind of a Shrek expert, but only for Shrek 1. But only for the first Shrek movie.
Shrek 2 is like Gingerbread Man and Puss in Boots is in Shrek 2. He's not in the first one.
Okay.
And the fucking fairy godmother and whole fucking scene where she's playing the piano and sings what's that fucking song? Holding Out for a Hero.
Oh yeah. I forgot that one's in Shrek.
Yeah, it's on Shrek 2.
Yeah. Yeah, but in Shrek 2, does he use the chair?
What chair?
In Shrek 1, when he's at Farquaad's castle and he's like fighting the knights. And then some lady's like, use the chair! And then he like hits a guy over the head with a chair.
Oh, no, in like the wrestling ring. No, I do remember that.
Yeah,
okay.
That one's a solid Shrek 1 moment.
It was.
Honestly, guys, that's on my list of top Shrek moments. Top Shrek 1 moments. Yeah, top 1. Top Shrek
when he uses the chair.
Yeah, uses the chair. Honestly, S tier. Like, the S stands for Shrek. Fuck!
Dude, I think the only other one that, like, before counting the spin-off movies, have you seen the fucking Puss in Boots movies?
No, I've been meaning to watch it because it apparently it was really good.
Like, the first one didn't get great reviews. I didn't remember it. I think I saw it when I was a kid, and, like, I didn't finish it when I was a kid.
I didn't know there was a first one. I thought we were just talking about the fucking Puss in Boots and the Last Wish or whatever.
There was one that came out in, like, 2010 or some shit, or, like, 2012.
Oh.
And, I saw it not in the theaters. We were just watching it at home, and, like, I think we didn't finish it because it was kind of boring. But
okay.
The new one, we saw a trailer for a new one. And we're like, it's like 10 years later. Like, everybody forgot about the first one. Like, why the fuck are they making another one? The animation style is like totally different. And then we're like, all right, but fuck it, it's getting amazing reviews. So my friends and I sat down one night to watch the first one just to like catch up or whatever.
To pregame it.
And we were like,
we were pre-gaming.
We gotta see what happens because half of us didn't even see it when we were kids, and ones that didn't remember it.
Yeah.
So we watched it and like it was okay, and then we go and see the new one. And first of all, the new one, for anybody who hasn't seen it, I'm sure most people listening have seen it because everybody's fucking seen it, but it has absolutely nothing to do with the first movie. Like, I think this was their attempt to like start over.
Oh yeah, just a reboot.
Yeah, it was just like a total reboot. Like, they totally forgot about the
should have called it Puss in Reboots, am I right?
Puss in Reboots. That's a good one. But it was fucking sick.
Yeah. Bro, I
love that movie.
See, I was gonna watch it. Like, I remember that I was like, it was on my radar because I remember everyone being like, oh yeah, no, it was actually surprisingly good, way better than it had any business being.
Well, yeah, for sure.
And then I was like, oh, well, you know, that seems like a great thing to do with my girlfriend because she has a very fucking weirdly specific taste in things where if it's not like animated or whatever, she's just like not into it. Like, but like also hates anime.
Yeah.
Like, trust me, I thought it was weird. So it was hard for me to find stuff that we would both like. Yeah, anyway, broke up. So, you know, I never watched it. But, you know, maybe I might. I think it's on Netflix.
I would watch it again.
Yeah.
It's on Netflix.
Yeah, okay, yeah, sick. I'm going out.
If you ever want to come up here or do like a watch party or whatever, let me know.
Yeah, hell yeah.
But
yeah, no.
I mean, you haven't seen it, so I can't spoil it, but like
you better
there's this one thing, so like I kept seeing scenes that people were posting when it first came out, because people were like freaking out over this movie. And the one scene that people kept posting was the bar fight with the wolf.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure, that's like, you've seen that scene, right?
Yeah, I've seen it, yeah.
Like, what do you know about this movie?
Okay.
Before I get into it.
All right, so just through cultural osmosis, like seeing people talking about it and like on TikTok and stuff. I think the wolf is like a bounty hunter or something that comes to kill Puss in Boots. Yeah. And then he like damn near does, and then I think there's some level of like the wolf is like an allegory for death or something.
Yeah, so like, yeah, since you already know, I will talk about it then.
Okay, that's fine.
Like, you know, in the Shrek universe, like everybody's like a storybook character, like a fairy tale character, like
yeah, how basically Shrek and The Witcher are in the same universe.
Yes, exactly.
Shrek happened after the conjunction of spheres.
Yes.
What?
So, I was watching these scenes, right, and I'm like, that's cool and all, right? Like this wolf bounty hunter character, but like everybody in this universe is like a pre-established character. So I was like, what character could this possibly be, right? And then I was like wondering the whole time, and then I saw the movie, and like I was like, oh shit, it's the Grim Reaper, it's Death. Like that's the Fable character it's supposed to be. It's Death. That's so cool because he's got like the black hood, and he's got the scythe, and he's got the like, it's fucking awesome. But it's a really good movie.
Nice, yeah. Yeah, I'm super down to watch it. Oh, that reminded me. When are we getting Wolf 2? The fuck, guys? Why is it taking so long? When are we getting Wolf 2? Okay. the problem is the name is horribly cursed now because of things out of their control, but there was a Telltale game that was really good. I think it was based off, it might be Robert Kirkman, and it was based off some graphic novel.
Robert Kirkman, he's the Invincible guy, right?
Invincible and Walking Dead, yeah. It was some comic book, like graphic novel thing. It may have been him, but it could be someone else, I don't remember. But it was based off of this universe where basically same thing where like, oh, it's basically if all of the fairy tale characters got together and moved to New York City, and it was super gritty, like Watchmen's take on superheroes, where like a lot of them are scumbags because, you know, they're just living in the fucking shitty boroughs of New York.
Right.
It's called The Wolf Among Us. Unfortunately, had to be titled Among Us.
Yeah.
So now it's super cringe to say it, but the first game was super cool, and the end of it is like baiting a sequel, and then Telltale went out of business and then came back, and they have allegedly been working on season 2, but it's been like 10 fucking years or something.
Jesus, man.
But they're like, no, it's coming, don't worry, it's, you know, very soon now, we swear. And just reminded me, like, yeah, Shrek and The Witcher and Wolf Among Us are all fairy tales, but, you know, some extra thing. I'm waiting on Wolf 2.
Some extra thing.
Yeah, like Shrek is like, oh, you know, what if they were like just all, you know, existing, and, you know, what wacky hijinks that causes. And then The Witcher is like, what if all of the fairy tales entered the same planet and they were racist to each other? Like, what if...
Is that what The Witcher is? I know absolutely nothing about The Witcher.
Sort of, I don't know. So I'm not like an expert on The Witcher or anything. I've just played the beginning portions of 3, and I've not read any of the books. But from what I...
Just books?
Yes. So, oh, no, you know what? You know what's even better? That actually ties in even harder to Smash Mouth. The connections between...
books before or after the games?
The connections between Shrek and The Witcher are even deeper than I first thought.
Okay.
So you were saying, like, oh, it's kind of shitty of Smash Mouth to be like, oh, why are we the Shrek guys?
Yeah.
So there's a guy, he's Polish, he's an author, his name is Andrzej Sapkowski, and he writes a bunch of books, and the series is called The Witcher, and it's about a guy who's a witcher named Geralt. And then a Polish company called CD Projekt Red buys the rights to make video games out of these books. Like, they buy the licensing to it. And the first game sells copies. It's not great, but it wasn't a flop either. Then the second game comes out and does way better than anyone expected and impresses a bunch of people, especially because CD Projekt Red hadn't really been making full games like that for very long. And yet, for the genre that they were in, they were like significantly more impressive than Dragon Age 2, which had like millions of dollars more budget.
Okay.
Right? Like, it was EA and BioWare made Dragon Age Origins, which everyone fucking lost their minds over and loved, and then Dragon Age 2, which, you know, disappointed all these people. And then The Witcher 1 comes out of nowhere and builds like no fan base. And then The Witcher 2 comes out of even more obscurity and claps Dragon Age 2. And people love The Witcher 2. And then they put out The Witcher 3, and a lot of people are like, this is fucking amazing. It won Game of the Year that year. It was like so good. Thing is like amazing. And then the author's all like bent out of shape about it. Because he's like, oh, well, you know, I didn't think they'd make this game that is like really puts them on the map and makes them like, you know, one of the most well-liked game development houses. It's like, dude, so many people now know about your fucking books that didn't before. Like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm just some motherfucker in America that wouldn't have heard of it because I don't keep up with the Polish fiction section of my fucking local library that I never visit. When's the last time you were in a library or a bookstore? You're in college. That's actually a bad question. Fuck. Damn it. When was the last time I was in a library? Probably a long time ago, it feels like. Yeah, so like I wouldn't know what the fuck The Witcher is. Like, there's a Netflix series that would not have been anywhere. It wouldn't have been made without the games. Like the games are by far the most prolific.
I thought it was based on a game. I didn't even know it was a book.
No, so it's a bunch of books, and then the games, I think, technically take place after the books, but aren't canonical or something like that. And then they made the show, and then I don't know the show. I don't know. I never watched it.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
But from what I can glean from having played,
it's Superman.
Yeah. From what I've gleaned from the beginning parts of the Wild Hunt, I think the setting is like, what if every, however long the stars align and random things from, things that we thought were fictional get put onto this planet or whatever. And then, how does that interact, right? Like, oh, the planet is dominated by elves, and then humans get to this planet where there's like, oh, elves! And then, now there's racism. They've officially invented racism.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, the elves make a terrible fucking argument for themselves. Yeah, exactly. The shit was kind of mad boring before we had, like, teams to root for. But it's funny, because, like, the elves are, like, never sympathetic, which is interesting. I can't tell if they're trying to be incredibly based, or just, like, that's just, what they're going for. Because I feel like the elves are never, like, sympathetic characters, because I feel like the only time you interact with elves is when they're, like, terrorists. Where you're like, okay, listen, racism may be bad, but, like, you can't be a terrorist about it. Like,
right.
Like, it seems like, I don't know, again, I'm not super well versed on The Witcher, but it seems like if every Native American dude you met was talking about, like, having his land stolen, but was also, like, the Unabomber.
It's also like, what?
The Unabomber.
Okay.
Like, it just seems like, oh, okay, well, maybe there's, like, a valid point in there about, being oppressed and treated poorly or whatever. But then, like, all those people that you've been killing that didn't have anything to directly do with that doesn't really square. Like, you're kind of a bad guy for that. Like, you may have started with, like, the correct thing, but, now your ends don't justify your means.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, interesting thorough line between Shrek and Witcher. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Yeah. All right, well, I think that's a good enough place to wrap up the fucking thesis between the two of them.
Wait.
Yeah, this was a fucking long one, bro.
What time did we start recording?
Like 8:30, I think.
Jesus.
Oh, yeah, we've been going. I have my count, which is the only count that matters, is 3 hours and 2 minutes.
Sweet.
Yeah, fuck yeah. All right, well, thanks everyone for watching. I hope you were interested in One Piece live action, because we talked about that for like an hour and 30 minutes or something. Probably 2 hours.
Yeah. Maybe
longer, so... hope you guys enjoyed. I'll, see about clipping it, but I'm probably going to be busy this week, so expect them maybe next week. Maybe. I don't even know what day this is going to go up. I'm recording this on Saturday night, and I'm busy this whole week, so, it comes out when it comes out. The way to not miss it is to subscribe, right? Damn. You should subscribe and also maybe like the video. I gotta start asking that not at the end. I keep making that mistake.
Oh, yeah.
I keep being like, yo, now that you've sat through 3 hours of this, would you consider...
talking about anime and shit.
Yeah, exactly. Now would you consider subscribing? And it's like, bro, if anyone's listening to all this, they're already subbed.
Yeah.
They're already subbed. All right, well, thanks everyone for watching. Remember to like and comment and do all that shit. It helps out a lot. Stay watching the channel. I'm still keeping those clips coming as long as I still have stuff to clip. I'm running out, but this episode should help.
You got some shit, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right, thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you next week.